Good evening, everybody. Episode 11 of the Iarmhi podcast. Live tonight. We're back in home. We're back in Clark's Bar here in Patrick Street after our tour last week where we were out in Jeanette Sheds. We'll be back on the road again shortly as well. And as of last week, as I said, if any business out there wants us to come out to their premises and do with a promotion, we're available. Have podcasts, we'll travel. Tonight, lads, we're going to talk football to start of all, and I've joined three experts here, three expert pundits. Have to say, we're really going to the... Tom Brown has really opened the wallet for this one. Owen Jordan, you're welcome back, Owen. Successful day in Roscommon, yes, so we'll talk to you about that in a minute. Noni Mulligan from Athlone. Playing plenty of golf, I believe, as well, playing good golf. Gave up the football, so he started golfing. And Alan Mangan, everyone knows Alan, the bandit that he is as well at the golf. So, anyway, lads, you're all very welcome. Football, 2 weeks of football. I think we're ready for a break nearly at this stage. I said the lads are playing and they're ready for a break as well. Actually, before I start, we'll give a shout out to our sponsors, the 6 sponsors: the Tire Warrior, Gary's Down the Pigeons, Jeanette Sheds in Kilbeggan, who we've already mentioned, Michael Mannion CVRT in the Blairy Industrial Estate in Athlone, Doctor.ie, Clark's Bar, who are here again tonight, and KC Sports. And just on the KC Sports sponsorship, we will be launching our new range of gear next week, hopefully. So you see us around the various GA venues. We'll have our new gear with us, and we'll be promoting this podcast as well. Lads, back to the serious business of football this weekend. Junior football, I'm going to go in reverse order. I'm going to go junior 2, junior 1, intermediate and senior. We're just on the junior football, 4 games. Our friends from Knocknavalli came a cropper. I don't know, Alan, did you see the result? 320 to Rosemount, 1-8 to Knocknavalli, 113 to Delva, 1-8 to Ballycamile. Colliery 311, Thurles Pass 2-4, Garrycastle 114, Mullingar Shamrocks 2-9. These are going to, I think they're all going into playoffs anyway. All these teams, the 8 teams, are going to go into the knockout stages anyway. Fancy anyone, even from that? Look, to me, Garrycastle and Rosemount, and I think you were saying last week you had covered Rochester Bridge in that junior 2, and they looked impressive.
Yeah, I know I came in there last Monday, and definitely from what I see, I had done Colliery and Garrycastle in that as well, and in fairness to Desi togged out, and Mickey Green played in that game as well. So I suppose the elder statesmen of Garrycastle were coming to the fore there, but certainly what I seen when St Mary's were very strong. I know Rosemount had a big win there at the weekend, and it looks like they'll be straight to a semi-final in that section, so they'll have a big say in it yet. But definitely my standout team that I've seen to be St Mary's. Yeah,
plenty of numbers out there, I suppose, at this stage, underage lads coming of age, and that junior 2 is a good option for, the second strings. Maybe, there's a lot of talk whether it's the right competition. Should we be running a senior year of, different competition for those second strings? But I think that's a structured championship, and it's proper games for lads. They're fixed on the same weekend. They get the same treatment as any of the other championship matches, and I think it's a good competition.
Absolutely, and it gives, unless you're an exceptional 17, 18-year-old coming up through the ranks and then pushing into adult football, you're not going to, especially with the top teams, the top senior teams, you're not going to push your way into a senior outfit that quickly. So it's a nice stepping stone for them. But listen, and it's going to be tight up there like that with Knocknavalli, Ballycamile, Rosemount B and all that. That's going to be a tight group now, and I don't know whether they all come out, but it looks like, from what I'm looking at online, it looks like only 3 teams come out of it. I could be wrong now, but it looks like only 3 teams come up. So but the Valley, as you said last week, they're nearly everyone's favourite team around the county at the minute, and with a bit of luck, you might see them pick up another win or 2 and get themselves out of the group and see where it goes from there.
Junior 1. This competition now is starting to come to life, and this is a good competition, and they've kept the form out of this one. But Kilbeggan are the team, I think, so far, 114 to 12 point winners over Bunbrusna. I'd say poor old Danny McDermott definitely is near a shred of hair left after that week. Ballycarrigy now, big result. Ballycarrigy 115, St Joseph's 2-6. And then the last game in that Section A, Mullingar Shamrock 3-14, St Paul's 2-7. And Section B, big scores from this one as well. And the two boys beside left and right, one he reminded St Lomans. I actually thought it was the timer, so it was 5:30 at Lone 2-11. Good scoring too, though. Carson Killy had 11 points, Killuca 1-14, and the Downs 3-19, Moat 9 points. Kilbeggan, just a quick word on Kilbeggan. Nigel Adamson stayed on with them. They were relegated under a bit of controversy last year, but seems to have them heading in the right direction now this year. Second year with them, I suppose, the help from probably knows to set up a little bit better, and they've dropped down a level as well.
Yeah, look at, I suppose, any manager, like, I suppose, with 6 points on the board now, they're at this stage they're through to a quarter final, but they won't want to let up on that momentum. And the big local derby, I suppose, against St Joseph's in the next round, so it'll be hell for leather there. And I suppose, look, they've good experience through the team there, the likes of Sean Pigeon and Nigel Scally, like, they're good players. So as you said, they were probably unlucky to come down from intermediate last year, and there's probably not a whole lot of difference between maybe Section B and intermediate and at the top of the junior. They'll be looking to push on in the next 2 games and finish top, and probably
on that's one play 4, isn't that it? Yeah, because like in that other side of the draw, you look at the likes of Lomans and the Downs putting up big scores. Probably Killucan are going to come over as well. That Lomans probably going to top the table. I don't know what way they're going on it, but Alan, a quick word on Anthony Maher, Bal. It's never a great sign when you see a team change a manager just as the championship is about to start. And I know that turned to Anthony, he's probably a little bit like Sam Allardyce, when you get stuck for a manager, go to Anthony out there. But he's certainly, that's a big win over St Joseph. Joseph will be disappointed with that.
Lots of people watching this that won't have a clue Sam Allardyce.
All right, okay. Well, do you want to tell us?
Well, all I remember is he managed Bolton, so we'll just go with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
And was he sacked from England after one game in charge? So. I said it here when it was changed up just before we started, that if anyone's going to get at now the Ballincarrigy lads, it's going to be Dags. Like, they all love him down there. He's nearly like a folk hero in the village. So he's obviously getting the best out of him, because at the start of the year, I think a good few lads on this podcast tipped up St Joseph's to give it a good rattle and nearly win it out, and like that's a big win. That's like 115 to 2-6. I know it's 6 points, but it seems like an awful lot more than just 6 points.
Double score, 16 to 8, like it's.
Yeah, and well, you can't really say that anymore with the 2 pointers.
Okay, yeah, so fair on.
I got pointed in the right direction earlier on when I made a comment like that, but it's one of those things that if Bal can get their house in order and keep themselves on the straight and narrow, there's very few teams that will live with them in that junior championship. And if they get on a roll of winning matches, enjoy their night after winning, and then go and knuckle down again leading into the next week, I'm telling you, they'll be hard beaten in this championship, because they've a few seasoned campaigners, as well as having lots of tough cookies that are able to mix it. And you know what, when it comes to when the weather starts, like, I know it's raining outside now, but when it gets really, really dirty coming to county semi-finals, they'll come into their own as well, even better again. So listen, St Joseph's will be licking their wounds after that now, because they probably thought that they might get a win there and be guaranteed to get through anyway. I still think they'll get through, and there'll be no doubt about that, but it makes the quarter final just that little bit tougher the further down that table you are. Yeah,
that's the big thing. No, the Mullingar Shamrocks 3-14, Paul's 2-7. Paul's came out of Junior 2 now. Is there that huge of a gap between Junior 2 and Junior 1, or Mullingar Shamrocks would obviously, with plenty of numbers, coming through at their underage level as well, so they would be strong, but you fear for Paul's now this year after taking, I think, 3 bad beatings in that group stage.
In fairness to Shamrocks, I'd say at that level they're very strong. You'd imagine, like, with the schools, the lads coming out of the schools, a lot of them be finding their feet there. Now I know some of them are playing in with Shamrock seniors and actually thriving there too. But then there'll be another good cohort of them that'll be, we say, strong when Shamrock's the same. I suppose as Tober Clare actually were strong at minor, under 21 or under 20 at the time, and now just coming through into adult football. A lot of those lads have a good bank of solid football behind them, and again, I'm not surprised to see them winning well and putting up high scores. But as far as the gulf between Junior 1 and Junior 2, I don't think it's that big. Do you know, maybe St. Paul's just need to find their feet somewhere. But no, there definitely probably isn't that much of a gulf.
You know, when Paul's, go on, Alan.
It's one of those things, Ray, where like we all see it in clubs that they're not jewel by name but jewel by nature. They're going well in the hurling, and you see lads sort of rowing in behind the hurling and thinking, right, we've a right good chance to win this. You're after 2 bad defeats in the first 2 rounds of the championship, and you're thinking, well, what's the point here now? We're sure we can go back down to Junior 2 next year and so be it. But you'd like to see them like giving it a good fist of it the last 2 or 3 games that they have, and giving it a right good rattle at it and try and get a win on the board or 2, and put any other of them teams under pressure. But no, Shamrocks look to be lively, and like I think have they contested 3 minor finals in a row and an under 20 final as well last year. Like they can't all play senior, so there's quite a good few of them teams that have won championships that are like I think didn't Shamrocks beat a very fancy Tubber Clare team in a county final, a minor final a couple of years ago.
They 3 in a row against
them. And it's one of those that they have right good lads coming up through the ranks, and if their senior team can not use them, but at the same time every young lad wants to play senior.
Yeah, but I suppose look, it works the other way as well, and lads that were barely clinging on to a senior team drop back down to a junior team then as well, or if you're on the end of coming to the end of your career, I'm happy to do that and still be competitive.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's one of those you see when you have as big a numbers as Shamrocks have, you will see like you have a lot of lads that played for years with them, the likes of Donald Donoghue and Anthony Clinton. These lads this held on for years. Micheál Curley were there for years, but now when you have that many young lads coming through, it's easier to step away when you have a lot of young lads. You know what I mean? Like, when you have a load and big numbers coming through, lads just say, you know what, I'll leave them at. Whereas if the numbers are small, you're just saying, well, I don't want to let them down, and I'll continue on for another year or 2. So you can see these big teams, the likes of the Downs and Shamrocks and Lomas, that would have big numbers. You won't see as many older lads playing with their second teams.
Yeah, but Mullingar Shamrocks, in fairness to them, have a third team, so
you might see them in that.
There's still a place for them.
It is a huge game in the next round there, St. Paul's against Brosnan. Like neither of them have a point on the board yet, and probably Bun will probably fancy coming through that, and like that'll keep their championship hopes alive, like, and maybe to get to 4 points, possibly again head-to-heads and mini league tables and so on. But certainly, like, that's really the winner of that, or the loser of that, will probably be staring down the barrel of relegation play.
You'd have to really fancy. But I saw Bun playing the other day. It was in Castletown, and like they lost by 5 points, but they had 3 goal chances against Kilbeggan at the end of the match, and blocked on the line, and the goalie made a couple of good saves. One was knocked over the bar. Like they had 3 really good goal chances, and if they'd even taken one of them, but you'd have to admire the Bun lads. Like they're at the latter end of their career, a lot of them. And by God, they do their fight for that jersey.
Still giving it 100%. What's the second, that lower tier, Owen and Nolly, have you seen much of at Lowen? What are Lomans like? Are they strong contenders? I know, just looking at their...
It wasn't at that game, so I'll let Nolly take...
I'm over the Athlone junior team. I took them for the couple of games so far. So, funny thing about that game actually is Athlone, about 15 minutes in the clock, were 2 points up, and looked to be actually playing a little bit better football, but like Lomans came out, just that something switched, and they're seriously strong. I think it might have taken them 27 minutes before they kicked it wide. Just everything was precise. They look like a first team, but they don't look like a second team in a club. They're very well drilled, and they seem to be just a very young group. I looked at the team sheet, wouldn't know a whole lot from experience. So they're a young group of lads coming through. Probably have the few older heads with experience sprinkled there just to keep them, organised. But no, they were very good. The score reflects the game. Right. It's not something that we'd feel hard done by or anything. So no, look, and I know I think they went close a couple of times to getting
beaten in the semi-final last year and the final in 2023.
Kilbeggan got a goal, and
the controversial goal, I think, wasn't it as well at the end of that one.
I think the biggest improvement in that section B is Killucan. Like, I mean, for the last couple of years, they were probably maybe hanging on, and they would win the relegation playoff against the bottom of. I know they beat St Paul's maybe 2 years ago, and in fairness, the Paul's bounced back well, but like they're comfortably, you know, on 4 points there. I know they were beaten by the Downs in round 2, but you know, bounced back well and beat Killyard. So again, probably shows that Killucan have a good number of younger players.
Yeah, they again underage. I think maybe in what we call a section B, or you know, B Championship football, but they have plenty of numbers coming through there and getting their own identity out there. I think as well. You know, they're not being seen as much as the football side of Raharney. Like, they have their own identity, and you know,
I suppose the local lads over the team, and
yeah,
you know, and that kind of probably galvanises the thing, and lads, you know, will be, maybe younger lads had looked up to them when they were playing and kind of want to be under their tutelage, and they kind
Frank
of.
Boyle is over the senior team. I don't know whether he's over the.
I'm not sure what I'd imagine if a lot of them probably train together and stuff, and again you can see they've made big strides, and they'll be looking to cement their quarter-final place on next week.
Look at that junior. Like, I think it's a great championship, because you know, you're testing yourself first of all with the junior teams, and then you come across against the second string team. So like, whoever's going to win it wins it the hard way. And I think, in fairness, you know, we've said it before here on this, that it's been a while since a second string team won that junior championship. That, you know, invariably a junior team, a sole junior team, you know, comes out on top. Like,
yeah, I think someone said 2012 was the Shamrocks, the last team that won it in 2012. But it's but you always like to see the sole clubs in it. Like, we all are in that boat that we'd like to see a sole club win it. But listen, if they're not good enough, these second teams are well entitled to play this championship, and you're obviously playing without probably 22 or 23 players that played up above you. So when you have a team playing from 24 on, if they're good enough to win it, well, fair play to them.
Throw one at the tree now. Do you think the junior championship should be left as it is with the second string teams in it, or should they do something to leave the sole junior teams in the championship of their own and take the second strings out of it, like they do in other counties now?
I know some counties. I don't think that gives the, whatever you call it, senior B, or you know, a second competition for, say, your senior teams. It doesn't get any of the prestige that if a Shamrocks or a Lomans won a junior championship and went up to intermediate. You know, again, you see it in the likes of Roscommon there. St Bridget's would have an intermediate team, you know, and a junior team, you know. And I think it also gives the likes of your Kilbeggan and St Joseph and Balnacarrigy, like, they're competing against very strong teams. And as Alan says, maybe I think it's very fair the way it's split, that the junior teams play against each other, the senior teams play against each other, and as the championship goes on, inevitably they lose more and more players to senior championship. And when, you know, the junior teams come through then to semi-finals and finals, you know, inevitably they're coming out on top, which, as Alan said, we all want to see. And you know, it's whatever 13 or 14 years since a second team won it, but it does give it that prestige, and it's well organised and well structured. And I suppose maybe on the unfortunate side of it, it does mean then that the likes of Ballycamoyle or Delvin would drop down to a lower tier. But again, St Paul's probably had a great day last year in Cusack winning a Junior 2 championship, and you know, maybe things are a little bit difficult this year, but certainly I won't make any change to the way it's run.
What do you think, Nolly? You've been involved with the second string team.
No, pretty much I think exactly as Owen said it there. I think it is well structured, and having lads to come and play for the second team, I think if they're playing in a junior championship rather than, as Joey said there, less prestigious senior B or whatever you call it, I think there's more pull to try and get those younger lads to come along and play. Now I could be wrong, it's just my opinion, but that's what I would envisage lads that are coming up are saying I'm playing a proper Westmeath championship here rather than what's labelled as a second string championship, you know.
We'll never probably come to a situation in Westmeath football like you had in Offaly hurling on, where you have the likes of Kilcormac with their second team, or you have it with Ballygunner down in Watford hurling, where their second string is almost good enough to play senior hurling.
No,
you know, you can't.
I just think the question would be a decent question if they had won the second tiers had won 4 of the last 5 championships, whatever. But I just
Yeah.
think, listen, it's if you're good enough to win the championship, doesn't matter if you're playing against a team that has already used 23, 24 players. Well, then if you're not good enough to win after that, well then that's your own hard luck. And I think like the junior two, I know you're saying about a couple of junior teams dropping down, but look where Banlagore have come from dropping down to there. Like they had an outrageous win at the weekend, and we'll get on to that.
Well, you're
After
teeing
this,
it up nicely
but
there.
they won the junior too, and then straight up and won the junior last year, and now look where they are now. So, and they won the junior too without Tommy McDaniels, and got Tommy back, and look where they have pushed on to get. So it just goes to show, 1 or 2 players come back into the fold, you wouldn't know where that might take you.
Change your whole history as such.
Yeah.
Nicely set up as a Salana for the intermediate. Section B, St Mary's 121, Maryland 113. Ballymore 214, Castlefine Cool Whitehall 110, and then, as you say, Alan, a great result. Banlagore 113, Rosemount 13 points. Start with that one. That's a huge win for Banlagore. We're beaten, and I think Pat O'Brien had said it here for the previous game they were short was the full back, and he thought it would be a big loss to them. To turn it around, I think that has been Michael Ennis's only defeat, I think, in championship for 3 years. In the 3 years he's been there, but that's a big ups, because I would have said, Rosemount fancied to go top that table, and if they had won and Ballymore had lost, probably would have put Ballymore out of contention for the first 3, but they're right back in the cat's among the pigeons.
Yeah, and the big thing on Rosemount is Banlagore now have them on head to head.
Yeah.
So that's big, and Banlagore still have, I'm pretty sure they still have Rochester Bridge to play, and they still have
They're playing Maryland
in the next round. So, like, there's nothing to say that Banlagore won't get another win or 2 there. Do you know what I mean? So, no, you have to commend the job that Michael Ennis has done with these lads. Like, it's unbelievable to go down to where they went 3 years ago and have extremely disappointed, because we're from the area, and I know people would say we're rivals, but we're not really. We play underage together, we're friendly with all the lads. You don't want to see them going down, but now they are right back into the thick of it, and all that's going to do is going to boost football around the area for them as well. But Michael Ennis done some job with these lads, but Rosemount would be absolutely raging with that result. I know that Carl Dermody and John Kane won't be happy with coming out there with a result like that, but it wasn't high scoring. That was the thing. Banlagore are just going to break you down and bring you into a dogfight, and if you go into a dogfight with them, more often than not they come out the right side of it.
Yeah, and that was with David O'Reilly making a return to football as well. I think came on and kicked 2 points, pretty much one after the other. So, Rosemount have no excuses with it. Lads back by playing. I don't know what the story was of Thomas McDaniels, what he shot on or anything like that. And did you?
Cody Fanan, I think, got the goal, so we'll give him his credit. I think Tommy gets a lot of the limelight at Ballymore, but I saw on.
Cody's a good lad. We've seen him last year in that junior one. He was, he's a handful in there.
Brandon Carey.
Brandon Carey, he's a good player.
In fairness, and just your man Dara Series, stuff. Like
Dara Series was involved in the Westmeath senior county team, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think because it was work commitments last year that had him, he couldn't commit last year. He's in college. Sorry, he was in his last year in college, and he couldn't commit to going in. He was asked in. I'd say he's probably raging now. He didn't go in. But by all accounts, I was talking to one of the Banlagore selectors on Thursday. This is before the game, and he said that they lost to. Who did they lose in the last round? They lost to Ballymore. But he said that Dara Seary was absolutely outstanding. And I heard again that he was outstanding again the other day. So I know Tommy gets a lot of limelight, as do lots of forwards. I was there myself for a few years. Right? You might kick 9 frees, and then someone says, Jesus, you had some game. But sure, you mightn't touch the ball from play. You put the ball down and you kick it over off the ground, or you kick it over your hands over the bar, and you get all the limelight. And unfortunately that's the way it goes. But Dara Seary apparently was outstanding. Really, really outstanding at the weekend. But as you said, Owen, they have a sprinkle of very good players. Like Brandon Carey's well able to play, Cody Finance well able to play. The couple of Claffeys there down the middle of the pitch. They're tough cookies. David Keegan, Robbie Keegan as well. They have a lot of really good players, and like they have their gander back up again. Like people thought, after losing
Yeah,
to Ballymore, they might fold over and that'll be end of them for this year, and they might be safe. But they're in the hunt now.
Yeah,
The structure there, it's important, isn't it, that if you do have a loss, you have to bounce back, because 2 in a row, nearly 2 early losses in a row, nearly kind of half ends your
But
championship.
if you lost 2 out of 3, probably
Yeah.
you're pretty much, you know.
But
you're
Nachi
looking-
won't. Nachi will bring the standards, has brought the standards there up. Like when we were playing with Westmeath, and we don't like harping back to this, but Michael Ennis set a standard at training that everybody else followed at training. Like there was, like you go on about how fit players are now. I'm going to tell you now, they'd all have their work cut out to get to the standards that man got to, because he was an absolute machine, and he will expect the Banlagore lads to do the exact same as him. He won't fight for second best. I remember going out, he'd be doing runs out in Belvedere, and they only got 5 minutes rest from when the first lad got in before you go again. And we'd be all saying, "Jeez, Nachi, slow down a touch. Slow it down a touch, we might get an extra 15, 20 seconds rest." He wasn't slowing down. He just went, "Well, I'm here to get as fit as I can possibly get." And we were all straggling in behind, and Gary Connaughton would fall in over the 5 minutes and refuse to go again. So
Come here. Ballymore probably surprised in this Section B as well, in this 3 from 3 now. So they're pretty much, you might say, well, they got maybe the easy part of the draw. They have to go in and play. I think there's Rochester Bridge to play as well, I think.
Yeah, next round, yeah.
And have to play
Rosemount.
So that, but still 3 wins for them. Would have been one of the favourites for relegation. I think we started off for what we were predicting about, but that's a big win over Castlefinaig, Whitehall, because they were the team that finished 3rd in that group last year. So they would have been hoping to, that advantage of getting the 3rd place would have put them over. But Ballymore stepped up, and Ballymore will give Rosemount and St Mary's a lot to do in the last 2 games as well.
Yeah, and probably, they're not guaranteed probably a quarter-final spot, but they're nearly there, and it's potentially a great way to go into a quarter-final, having that bit of, you're getting sharpened there by playing, Rosemount and St Mary's. And I know me and Nolly would have played with a lot of them further on lads with Southern Gales underage, and they were never found wanting on the big day. John Gilligan and Brian Finnerty and them boys, and Conor McNeil and goal and stuff. So they're, as you said, they're definitely on the crest of the wave now. We're
going to talk hurling, afterwards, and if they win their hurling game next Sunday, then you're going into three rounds of football after that. So if they get themselves safe in hurling, they'll turn full focus onto football then at that stage.
They had a real good league now. They played in the same league as Malachy's, and they were sitting at the top of the league. After 5 rounds, they were sitting at the top of the league. And then they just fell off a little bit the last couple of games. Malachy's played them very good on force, and they played Malachy's. Malachy's were after getting all the county hurlers back the week before, and we had 4 or 5 lads coming back into the fold that played against them. And sure, yourself, you'd know Nolly from playing with the county. You go back and play a bit of hurling, it's a bit of crack, and you go back and you give it everything. And the Malachy and the Castletown boys did that, went back in and played really, really well that evening. And sort of Ballymore got off to a great start that day, but Malachy's ended up scoring maybe 2 or 3 goals in a row that ended up polishing it off early. But at the same time, Ballymore were going really, really well. Probably fell off a touch near the end of the league, but they're right back at it again.
Yeah, they're at it again now. Maryland, looking like relegation trapdoor is staring them straight in the face. 121 to 113 against St Mary's Rochester Bridge. Now it was a hell of an improvement from Division 3 League final, where Maryland were really, really put to the sword that evening, but still no wins after 3, and the next game is a big one for them. But Damien Gavin will be happy with how St Mary's are going. He lost the first game, but he's picked up 2 wins now and 2 to go. But still nothing sorted in that division yet.
Yeah, with Maryland as well, I suppose, to be a proud club too. Like, they're not going to go down easy either. They're not going to say we're done. They will. They'll put everything into those last 2 games, and any time you've ever played, there's nothing more dangerous than playing against the wounded dog that needs to scrap and fight for it. So
I think what a blow to them last week. I think Callum McCormack has a red card. And I know you have the penalty of losing for that game, but the big thing with the position that they're in, he's now gone for at least the next game as well. Which is I'm not sure, have you the next round fixture
Well,
for Maryland?
Maryland are playing Ballinagore, and Finney are playing Rosemount. So again, look, on paper, you'd fancy Rosemount and Ballinagore to come through them, and that sets up a mouth-watering Maryland versus Finney round 5 game. So with both of them on 0 points,
both of them 0 on
I
it.
suppose winner take all. So I'm sure Maryland probably at the start of the championship would have had bigger ambitions after. I know the league final didn't go well, but they were promoted in the league and probably would have had a good league campaign. Probably fancied, maybe getting a couple of wins there, and maybe unfortunately, I know, as I said, I was at the Rosemount game, and probably the scoreline didn't reflect how tight it was, and a missed penalty with a couple of minutes to go, and Maryland could have been off to got a win there. So I suppose at the moment now they're staring down the barrel.
Yeah, they are.
The Bridge were very impressive, though. You have to say, it felt like we were at. Obviously, you were at Rail, so you there. It felt like a bigger win than what the scoreline suggests.
That must be someone else.
Were you not there? No. Oh, sorry, Ray.
Sorry, Alan.
Maybe I waved at someone else. But I just thought that the Bridge were impressive at times. Now, Callum McCormick got sent off, and listen, I didn't see the incident, but by all he didn't complain when he got his red card, so that's a real sign of a lad that probably deserved it. But he'll get a 1 game ban, and Finney probably won't have Darren McCormick back for the next game either. But when it comes to that last game, if Darren McCormick is anyway fit at all, he'll be back, and I'm sure Callum will only get 1 match ban, and he'll be back. So it'll be good. But you'd be impressed with there's a young fella playing centre back for St Mary's, Sammy, geez, I can't think of his second name, but he's not that big in stature, but he's one tough cookie. Kieran Martin came soloing through at one stage, and he just said, right, I'm going at this fella now. And you'd have to admire him. Now, it didn't work out too well for him one of the times, but he didn't shy away. He went back at him again, and Timmy Gavin to be proud of the way that they played the other evening. Now, they were getting a little bit niggly at times, but sure, that's what championship football's all about.
Yeah, a bit of pace in that team, I think. I know you were impressed with their second team, but I think that's the big thing about them. There's a couple of young Halls and young Jack Carroll there up front with them, and if they get a chance to
there's a fella sent full forward from Cavan, Carolyn.
Yeah,
he was very good. Now he ended up. I ended up having to do umpire at the game. Mickey Dan couldn't get lads to do it, so he ended up doing it, and he got done for a square ball at the end. Now, in fairness to him, he says, "You're right, it was a square ball." And that's grand, but he was very impressive. Now there was no lack of movement out of their full forward line. Now it was constant.
Yeah,
that's what you want, and I suppose for full back line it's a nightmare. For if you have a corner forward, it's just continuously moving. And no, the Bridge were good now, and they moved the ball very well, and it was a big improvement on their first game against Rosemount.
Big test against Ballymore now in the next round, and again, kind of sharpen them for hopefully.
Winners will probably be guaranteed to go through with that too. So
it's a kind of Ballymore, kind of team that the Bridge down the years was struggled with. The same as. Ballymore, they're hard to play against. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't think you'll ever get a team that'll say they like playing Ballymore. It's a grand game to play because. Yeah, that's not. We're not critical. That's on the positive.
But Owen McCabe is playing outrageous football at the minute. Like apparently he was. According to Michael Ennis, I was talking to Natchez during the week, and he says that McCabe was outrageous against Ballinagore. He said that they just couldn't handle him, and they said they tried everybody on him at one stage, and they said that he just phenomenal. Like he's well worth a shot at the county senior football panel if he wanted to do it. No. So that's a big if.
Section A, Malachy 317, Castlederry 110, a cracker in Milltown, I think it was noticed in Ballycarrigy, Shandona 315, Multifarnham 23 points. And the game in TG Cusick Park, Milltown 120, Milltown Pass 3-5. Shandona Multifarnham, I don't know what anyone said. You were not. No, I just heard. I spoke to a couple of people.
Ray Sheridan, and he said it was a right good game, but he said Shandona were 9 points up with maybe 15 minutes to go, and next thing Multi got a couple of 2-point frees, and Northern Allen was saying there with the new rules, a league can be eaten into very quickly. And
I think it ended up in a game with 2 breaches, though, wasn't it?
I think in fairness, so your man, the loaf of bread, Jason Keelan had the video of the 2 points. So Ray was saying that Multi got a 2-point free to go a point up.
In injury time.
Yeah, and then he said Multi had all 15 lads in back, and so it wasn't a slight breach. Now it was all hands on deck now to try.
This is Ray Sheridan now. Let's say.
So I suppose Pat Fox had no choice but to give the free, and he said, look, he left it in Brian Kavanagh's hands, and just Ray himself said that Brian Kavanagh scored 111 against Milltown. He scored 8 points against Castledaly, and he scored 111 yesterday. So he's in his late 20s, but certainly he's putting up big scores there.
But he brought the free back out to the
yeah.
top of the D to take it when
Into the wind.
like that takes a fair bit of balls now to bring it out to the top of the D to win the match instead of taking it from 21 to draw the match and Shandona walk away. Like if he kicks that wide, it's a loss, and Shandona are in a bit of a tight spot.
Yeah, they have a draw
So
as well. They could have been down
I
3
would say
points.
you have to say kudos to him to take that on, but no, I was sort of laughing there. Ray was a tough cookie, and he bordered on the line of discipline at times.
I suppose we can't go without mentioning, I think Ron Wallace scored 6 2-pointers. He scored 14 points in total. So, in fairness, and Multi be very disappointed, I'd say, having dragged themselves back into it, got the lead.
And to go into the lead
And
as
I
well.
suppose their championship is over for this year now with no points on the board. So, they'll be very disappointed not to have come away at least with maybe 1 point.
I know, but yeah.
You see, this is where like you've that top group now. Like Multi have basically 2 dead rubbers left. I don't think can they if they wanted to. I don't think they can. Maybe they can get out.
I think Castledaly and Multi are playing each other as well. Which
Well,
is
do they fight to get 4th place to stay in that group next year? Do you know, is that?
That is still there for
I'm not too sure they would. Like, would you? Would you rather go down and
If the structure's going to stay as it is, I wouldn't mind either way. I can't see it staying this way though. I can't.
No, you're probably right.
Imagine it's going to be the same next year.
Yeah, it's hard to stay that way, but you never know.
Another night.
In fairness, we've discussed that a lot. But in fairness,
it's fair point, Nolly. Fair point.
In fairness, for Owen Wallace to do what he did and to drag them back in the game, like I'd be very friendly with the multi-manager Niall O'Brien, and he'd have nothing but good things to say about Ronan Wallace. But like to kick 6 or to 5 2-pointers, 6 2-pointers, and like that's fair shooting. I don't care whether it's from frees or from play. Makes the odds. He's an outrageous footballer, and with if you have him on any team, you always have a chance. But it's just disappointing that they're a real good outfit, and they probably started off very poorly against Malachy's, but the last day they could have got something out of the game, and
Milltown,
could have got something out of the game, and they were leading with 10 minutes to go and just conceded a few soft frees and stuff like that. But they're now on no points and look very highly likely to go out of the championship.
Yeah,
I think Shandon will be happy with where they are now. I know Danny Scahill will come back in after.
I would imagine
they had a good win.
Did I see somewhere that Galway Boston won the North American? So
and I think as Matthew Scully has to come back in and
with them as well.
I was very impressed with Conor McCrossan as well when we played him. He's
they can't get out of the group. Like Malachy's, Milltown and Shandona have 5 points.
Right.
So they can't. They're out of the championship.
The battle of the 2 Milltowns, Paul Doolan called it yesterday. Rathconrath won 20, Milltown passed 3-5. Now that game was on the Iarmhi TV, and I was in watching it, disappointed really with Milltown pass. Brandon Kelly was held to a goal and maybe a point, I think is all he got. Milltown, Rathconrath very dogged, and that's without Jack Duncan.
Did he come on?
Dylan
Murta didn't start at all. Jack Duncan came on probably for maybe 10 minutes.
I think the thing with, look, I don't know the extent of the injury, and I know he plays hurling as well, but if Milltown are going to get over the hurdle of winning this, they need Jack Duncan firing, and they're playing Castledaly in the next round, and you'd imagine they'll come through that, they'll get to 7 points, they'll be in a quarter final at minimum. They probably might be better off letting him get that really get it right.
It seems to be a hamstring.
He'll get hard to get right now, because I'd say that Father Dalton's going to be putting pressure on him to play next weekend.
Yeah.
If he played 10 minutes this weekend, they'll be thinking, well, we might get a half or 3/4 of a match out of him next weekend, and
he didn't play the
that's
last
a big
round
game.
of
Like,
hurling, sure he
no,
didn't.
he didn't. No. So, but that's a fair score to put up without him.
Yeah. It was like they got a black card near the end of the first half. They conceded a penalty, and there was, I suppose, Milltown Pass be very disappointed in the second half. They only scored 3 points and 1 point in the last 25 minutes. I think it was 7 points to no score in the last 15 minutes.
I think they kicked something like 7 or 8 balls. Even in that second half, I think they put 6 balls into the goalie's hands, and they hit the underside of the crossbar with a goal chance as well. But they were very, very flat. Now,
Anyone find out what happens if these teams all land?
I was looking at it today and thinking of you now.
What happens though? Like?
So it's for anybody, I suppose, any listeners that want to look it up. It's code 11.1. So there's seven different permutations based on. So it'll be the head-to-head. I have it on the phone there. I can check it. The head-to-head.
When you looked that up, I met the county board chairman, and he asked me, "Did we sort out how we're going to separate these teams?" So I said, "No, Paddy, nothing to do with us. That's all your problem. We only talk about it."
Yeah. So, as I said, there's various, and number 7 out of 7 is a playoff. So it's very unlikely that it would come to a playoff. There's different things like scoring difference.
Because scoring difference throughout the whole championship.
So that's the 5th one, I believe. It's higher scoring difference in all games in the league group. So if they can't be separate, if it's a draw, as you said, maybe between Malachy's and Milltown Pass, there's different things like scoring total in the game. Now that was at 418 each, which they can't be separated there. So again, if they can't be met in that criteria of the head-to-head, it goes to higher scoring difference in all games in the league, higher scores for in all games in the league, and if they're still.
But this is where I have a major issue with this. Like, how do you get to progress young lads in the club when it comes down to this? Like, say if I was managing. Say Nolly was playing the whole time and Oni was trying to come on the whole time, and I'm thinking, well, Nolly's going to might score 2 extra goals for me at the end of the match, whereas Oni might just come in and win a ball laid off and play safe. Sure, we're not giving lads a chance. You know what I mean? Like, and I'd say no clubs have known that route before the start of the championship. And in fairness to Westmeath, they don't know it either, because that's obviously a GA rule.
Well, look at Brendan Shaw's not here tonight. Now he might know the ins and outs of it more than I do, but I suppose some counties are allowed to have different bylaws with different structures and different league setups. Or I know Tyrone play knockout and things like that. But I suppose look at the nature of the competition is you have to be knocked out at some stage. And
like Malachy's yesterday, for instance, brought on 4 or 5 subs at the end of the match and took off mostly lads that play hurling next weekend and are going to be playing for the next. But like, if they'd known that rule, would they have taken them off? Possibly not.
Big win on 317, 110.
Yeah, they were.
Castledaly looked like hit the trap door here.
Yeah, Malachy's were impressive now, I have to say. They were really clinical. Like Shane Corcoran scored an outrageous goal. Like, the only thing about it is if it happened 15 years ago, he wouldn't have got past the second lad. But in fairness, it was just one of those, like, he's able to do things that he tries to do things that other people wouldn't try in on Monday Sundays, and he's able to pull them off.
Brilliant. He's unpredictable.
He's so unpredictable. Like he sometimes might know he's going to do himself until the very last second. But he was very impressive. Now I'd say he scored 7 or 8 from play. He was really, really good now. Morgan Gavigan was good. Lynchy was excellent. Jack Aller pulled the strings from centre forward. Johnny B and Dylan Corrigan in the middle of the field were good. Backs were solid, and we were missing probably our best man marker. Stephen Fagan was doing best man at a wedding abroad, and he was missing. Like, he marked Wally in the first round, and he marked Brandon Kelly in the second round, and He did okay. He did very well against Wally, and he more than held his own, I suppose, against Brandon, who's very the informed player in the county at the moment. So he was missing. So they'll only get stronger, and David Maloney, please God, will be back over the next week or two as well. And Malachy's were good now, I have to say.
Yeah.
It was the first time that you came away thinking, geez, we were very much contenders here.
Yeah, as I said here last day, probably the experts are talking themselves down, but the results now are starting to count for them, and they're starting to, they're really in contention. I know you could say they're the strongest team coming out of senior, when you come back to intermediate or whatever, but they have settled it well. What have you, 5 points now from 3
It's
games?
easier to stay senior than win an intermediate
Really,
championship. Easily, way easier to do that. Like, we weren't playing good enough football 2 or 3 years ago to stay senior, but we ended up staying senior. But they're probably playing better football now,
and may not win an intermediate championship.
may not even get out of the group.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, because Milton Mass had a real big win against Castle Daly. Scored loads of goals. What was it, 4-15 or something?
Yeah.
Scored. So it's going to be nip and tuck when it comes to that, and
Yeah.
you see, like, you're trying to make sure that you don't lose games by too much if you are going to lose one. And
You
the
probably-
Malachy's have 2 best teams in the group to play.
Play. Yeah, and there's probably 4 in contention for 3 places. That's the
Yeah, and
reality of the way that table
it's a
is.
pity now, because the 4 of them are probably the 4 best teams in the Westmeath.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice, great to see 2 of them going into a quarter final and
Two
winning that, and then
semi-finals.
having 2 really good semi-finals, and let them go hell for leather and see who comes out best.
Yeah, but then we're going to have the same story in the senior. You're out to that as well. Section B in that one. Tuberclare 120, Killucan 311. Moorhall Heights 118, Tang 113, and Athlone 215, Thurles Pass 111. Athlone lads, good win. Thurles Pass depleted. Thurles Pass now looking behind them as well, big time at this stage. Where Athlone now with that win, back on the horse again.
Yeah, I suppose it gives us the chance to look forward now, and the nervousness over your shoulder is definitely gone, which is always there until you do hit that 4, I suppose. Thurles Pass, depleted, but to me, for Athlone, and Joey will tell you the same, I don't think it ever matters. It's just they're just a team that they'll never say die, and especially I find against Athlone, they always have something to dig out, and it did. I mean, a 7-point win in the end, I think it was, but I don't think Athlone were probably 7 points better than them. I don't think, like, it might be a little bit unfair to Thurles Pass to have lost by that, especially at an awful loss the week before against Tuberclare, which, I mean, they're a proud club too, and they're not going to be too happy with either of those losses. And as you said, looking over their shoulder now, I think they have Tang in the last round.
Yeah.
So that's going to look, I suppose, depending on the next week's results, it could be a winner takes all there for as in avoid relegation.
Yeah,
I think Thurles Pass, like, I'd say that's the first time, I think, since about 2019 Athlone have beaten Thurles Pass in a championship game. Like, they're a real bogey team for us. Like, and I'd say that Nolly and the boys and the management and the players are delighted to bounce back and get a win there. And as Nolly said, they're kind of looking up now. And they started really well. Like, they were 1-5 to a point up after 6 minutes. I think Stephen O'Connor got a penalty, and then unfortunately had to go off injured. Like, so, and it's great to see Killian Lynn there. Like, he chipped in with 5 points, and I suppose the lads in Athlone will know, like, the torture that man has gone through in the last 2 years with a fairly serious back injury, and it's just great for him to see him back and flying again at championship level, because I suppose in my time there, like, Stephen and Killian are 2 big scoring forwards, and just between injuries and Stephen went to America and things like that, like, we just didn't get them on the pitch at the one time. So it's no coincidence that Athlone are starting to put up big scores now with them boys back in the team. So look, they have a massive game in 2 weeks' time, and I suppose Killucan would be kicking themselves not to come away with maybe the 2 points, if not 1 again in the Tuberclare game.
Is that credit to Tuberclare?
Just sorry, Ray, before we move on, I must say it's the first time I'd really seen Joe Hyland up close, and he gave an exhibition kick, and oh my God, his kickouts were right on the money. Like, I know there's probably nobody nailed down in that number 1 spot for Westmeath yet, and I don't know his personal circumstance at work or family or anything like that. But Jesus, he was
Talking to his uncle.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, Jesus, and he was real brave. Now those kind of mid-range, top of the arc, through the press, like really, like and solid in goals, made a couple of good saves.
But that's what makes this result disappointing. Like, a lot of the game goes down to kickouts now. If you can win your own kickout, it's probably 35-40% of the battle. And they're still losing games. Like, even the week before, his kickouts were on the money. He's against Tuberclare. Like, he was good, and with the one, most of the, definitely 3/4 of the kickouts they're winning, but they're still not converting that down to the far end of the field. But I have to say, and don't like saying it now because I'd be very fond of Terrace Pass, but it's the poorest Terrace Pass team I've seen in a long time. But Jamie Ganood is going to come back.
He'll come back.
They'll be hoping that David Glennon comes back, and maybe Dennis can get over the mishap that he went through at work, if he can get back on the field, because they need him to
Peter
talk.
Clark will give.
Peter Clark will be back.
That, like you were saying, winning the kick out and having that energy go to Jamie and Peter. And that'll get them up to that scoring zone, and then
I think
like Terrace Pass
to coming back as well.
And I got that wrong actually, because I said as Conor Slevin during the week we were playing golf in the Westmeath Golf Classic, and he asked them, Nigel Hart came back and he goes, no, he said, I was listening to the podcast, I don't know what you were on about. He was looking down the far in the field, full sure that this was him. But listen, it wasn't him, and it'd be great to get him back on the pitch, but you just don't know how he's going to come back from a serious injury like that.
Like to come in, if he can't make the next one, saying he's thrown in at the
Who
deep end.
did Terrace Pass play next?
They play Moat.
And his Terrace Pass tying the last.
Like, that could come down to, if Terrace Pass lose to Moat, it's going to be a winners takes all in that game, and we all know that Tang are able to drag out a result. And Terrace Pass, I don't know if I don't ever recall them. They played in the county final in 1999 in Castletown, and I'm not too sure they've been in anything. Oh, they did. They bet Rochester Bridge in a relegation playoff.
They have an outrageous record of something like you're saying there, of the last 20 years they've been in. 25 years they've been in 20 semi-finals.
They're an unbelievable club. They're an unbelievable club, and I know, Ray, you're down the road for them, but your nephew plays with them. But at the same time, they are. They're pulling from a very small area, and the numbers of the lads they get out. Like Rochester Bridge are over the road, Ballinagore are over the road,
Kilbeggan are up the road.
Kilbeggan are up the road, and then you move in, Croghan comes in nearly on top of them as well. But they're a savage club that are extremely well ran, with the likes of Joe Daly and these lads out there that would give everything to the club. And you wouldn't like to see them go down, but they have themselves in a very precarious position at the moment.
It's something new for them as well, because they haven't.
Well, David and Dennis played in that relegation playoff against the Bridge, and they gave the Bridge an awful trimming that day. And I think David Klein, was that one of his first games ever playing for Terrace Pass? He was only a child.
That's a long time.
And he gave an exhibition that day, him and Dennis.
A lot of those other lads won't have. Wouldn't be used to going into this dogfight.
And I think Martin Flanagan, I'm not too sure Flan played. I think Flan was over in America for that relegation playoff. I could be wrong now, but I think he was. But lots of these lads have never been in a position like this, and as you said, the record is outrageous.
They've and they produce some unbelievable, like Cher and Dino and the two Glennons, like Nigel Hart. Like, they've had a great.
Jamie.
Well, even like you look at the likes of Nigel Hart and Conor Slevin are always Darren Quinn. They're always in it. Quinn are obviously played for a number of years, but Slev and Nigel Hart are always there. They've been on the periphery of that Westmeath panel for years. But
I wouldn't write them off though. Like, I remember this time last year, and we were going in to play them in the round 3, and it
was in Castletown.
They got, they probably were beaten well in the first 2 games, and like, they were very impressive against us that day. And I know that's the day Nigel got an awful knee injury, like, and they were flying that day. I know we maybe nearly pinched it at the end, but they were fully deserving winners. And like Nolly said there, like, I mean, Mo would probably have their tails up now with 2 wins in a row, and they'll fancy beating Terrace Pass. But I wouldn't dismiss them yet. Like, I know they're down a number of injuries with Jamie, Peter Clark, Nigel Hart. Like, they're 3 right good county standard players to come back in. So
Yeah.
they'll give him a massive lift coming into the last 2 games.
It's a tight group though, because you have Turles Pass or Tuberclare, they're more or less through now,
They are through,
aren't they?
yeah.
When you,
Through, yeah.
they're more or less through now. But then you have Moat, Athlone, Calucan, and Turles Pass.
Like
One-
Turles Pass
one,
can still
three,
get
two,
to
four.
5, like, and potentially
technically
finish
speaking,
third,
yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't, definitely wouldn't write them boys off.
Yeah.
No, but at the minute I'd say the mood is not good over there.
No, and you know, yeah, you mentioned about Joe and that, yeah, and Tom.
And nothing got to do with
No.
who's training or managing.
No,
It's just
absolutely
with the
not.
way things are going and injuries and everything like that. It's
Lads,
hard when
yeah.
you get a load of injuries and
Yeah,
trying to get wins and you're there going, and then you think you get 1 or 2 lads back and then 1 or 2 lads are gone. Like David Glenn, as we said, and Dennis apparently was flying before. Both of them flying and both of them having dogged out in the last
David
2
played
games.
against us.
David played, did
David played
he?
full game against Athlone.
All right, okay. Well, that's
But Connor
that's a
Stephen went
bonus.
off injured. You don't know how.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
could be, that could be another.
Yeah,
name
another,
scratched off the list. You know, which
one
is-
step forward, 2 steps back
Yeah.
again, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Sleb is like the rubber man, though. He'll surely.
Tuberclare, 123-11. Now it's by all accounts a cracking match, and you know, Killuke got in for goals, but Tuberclare have been a revelation, haven't they? I know your neighbours down the other end as well, but you know, credit without you know, probably one of the best footballers in the county, with Matty Whittier, not playing with them. Like, if they get another win and they go into, like, they will be looking to finish 1 and 2 in this group. Like, third is not what they want.
Yeah.
If they want to go up into that top tier next year, but if they get another win and get Matty Whittier going back in for a knockout stage of the championship, you know, they've a lot of talent. They could rattle some of the teams in the top tier.
Yeah, without a doubt. I've actually been saying about Tuberclare for a couple of years now, since they were at the minors, the same way the Shamrocks
that
were.
group, yeah.
That they were going to be up and coming, and they're going to compete at senior level for a long time to go. And it's not just Matthew Whittaker, they're down a couple of other lads, strong footballers,
Yeah.
Tom Burt, Liam Staunton, 2 lads that have been out this year too, who would have been nailed on starters nearly for them too. Like,
Gavin Delaney didn't play the other day either. Like, he's a loss from that.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, they're decent. Killucan, you know, they were the team last year. I think they were like Castlefinaine in the second year. They finished 3rd place. Have acquitted themselves well. Frank Boyle and Conor Jordan, they're over them, and you know, they'll be hoping to get up into that. You know, plenty good footballers around Killucan as well, and that's I think as close as Tuberclare have been pushing that 3 games so far.
I would say watching that game, it wasn't decided in the last 5 minutes. It could have went either way. Nobody could have called it. Like, I was chatting to lads either side of me, and they were calling a different winner every 5 minutes from 10 minutes into the game. I would say, as an overall sweeping statement, the big difference was the 2 pointers Tuberclare kicked.
Yeah.
I think Owen McCabe might have kicked 5 2 pointers. Huge boot of a ball. I mean, like, if you do want to have a chance of slowing them down, you really have to be pressing on that, because if he's given the space, he's going to kick them.
Right.
And it probably is what caused Killucan. I think Killucan might have got a fair dose of luck for one of their goals and all, but again, that's football, it happens,
Yeah,
you know. But
yeah.
they definitely weren't. You wouldn't write them off from anywhere. Like, they were right in that game up until the last couple of minutes.
Talking to someone, and Nolly can confirm her, but the biggest disappointment for Killucan was that they didn't close Owen McCabe down. Like, they left him with loads of room when he did get possession of the ball to have a pot. Now, if you're going to let him have a pot, especially with a slight breeze behind him,
Yeah,
he
and
doesn't
he-
have
and he
to
will.
put-
He
but
will
he
to-
doesn't have to put too much effort in. It's all got to do with that strike of the ball. It's all got to do with the effort. If you have a long enough boot on you that you're able to just caress it over the bar, let's say, rather than trying to take the leather off it, he's very, very accurate. And they left him alone. Maybe I think there were the Killucan fella that I was talking about saying that we just let him have 3 shots all in his own, and after the first one that should have been closed down. And so,
Yeah.
But they have that threat all over the place.
Yeah,
Like Keelan Conlon can have it, Taylor Slevin. These lads, they can all kick 2 pointers. So
and like you're saying there, if you do, it's that cat and mouse. Like, if you do push out and
you're opening up spacing behind
like
them.
Paul Keegan was busy in there. Like, Keelan Connell took his goal really well, you know. And fairness to Owen, like, it's that the kind of technique. Like, I suppose in Milltown, you probably would have said that the dressing room end is nearly the scoring end, but a bit of a breeze in kicking into it, and like you're saying there, Killucan would be annoyed where they were. I think where they were kind of, they weren't cruising, but they were comfortable in the first half, and Owen McCabe kicked those two pointers just at the end of the first half to kind of get them
Yeah,
back into the game.
Went from a 5-point game to a 1 point,
Yeah.
a 1 point game there in a matter of minutes.
And Tubber Clare probably maybe would say they underperformed, or certainly it's the least impressive they've been, and for them to dig out a win from that, like they'll be really
But it shows what we're saying about intermediate and senior. They were knocking on that intermediate door for ages. Now look what they're able to bring. Like, we beat them in 2023 in a semi-final, and they were mad favourites going in against it. And we ended up kicking a free the last kick of the game to win it, and we got through. We ended up, and they lost another semi-final or final after that. But like, look how far they're after coming on. Like, and they will contest senior championships in the next 3 or 4 years because they're extreme. Their age profile is better than any other team in the county.
Yeah, it is. The last game of that group, it was on television. It was in Moorall Heights and Tang. Harry Niall, just so you're talking about Owen McCabe, I thought he was very, very impressive. He got in, to the game, fisted over 2 points. At a time when there was very little, like Tang, you said about they hung in there and they hung in for a long time, and it Moortlow comfortably earlier on. Tang dragged themselves back in, got a goal from a penalty just after half time, and goalkeeper got a yellow card, and we were kind of impressed about looking at it. And that's what we said as well. That it could easily have been a red. Now, Tangman stuck the penalty away well. It got them right back into it. Credit to both that they did. Darrell Lowry got injured, had to come off. But they worked it well, and just a little bit stronger. And as I said, Harry Niall, another young man, I think, benefited from being involved with a county setup as well. Showed experience when they needed a point. I have a gripe when you go straight in on the goalkeeper from 6 or 7 yards out, why you don't just rip
No,
the net
so
out.
do I.
I don't.
You're talking to the wrong man, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have a major gripe there. I just don't think that you should be allowed to hand pass the ball over there.
Yeah, well,
No way.
Yeah, well,
You're in there. If you're able to hand pass it over, you should be able to kick it over. Martin Flanagan, I know we all know Flan very well, but I'd be very good friends with Flan, and he has a major issue.
Yeah.
He nearly cringes when he sees the ball. It doesn't matter what level. And I listened to a podcast a couple of weeks ago, the Football Pod, and James O'Donoghue. He is the example. He just can't understand how you're allowed to do it. And it's like you want to see these lads producing something, and you want to see them just going, doing something. Corner forwards and full forwards, their job is to do something that we just. I have no problem with Nachi coming up the field and hand pass the ball over the bar, but I have a major I shouldn't. And I'm out there. It's a disservice to Michael Ennis now because he's well able to score from anywhere. But Nachi used to come forward and put the ball over the bar, and Flan used to say in the match, why didn't he go for a goal? Or he'd be shaking his head, and everyone would be high fiving him on the way back out, and then Flan would just be shaking his head, going, I can't believe he just did that. But
Harry Niall did it twice at a time when they maybe got 3 or 4 up, and then he got in for another one again. Just opened the gap then.
But if you're managing the team, I can see why you won't. If it's a draw game with 30 seconds to go, hand pass the ball over the bar.
There's times, see Valdeli on the sideline with Mort as well, experience there. And
Just their competitor is still in him. There was one stage there was a ball right down, and he was about 5 yards on. He was nearly tackling the boys himself.
He was really into it.
I think, in fairness to Tang, like Adam Neary kicked a 2-point free with maybe 10 or 15 minutes to go to put them a point up, and that's where Moat really dug in there. And like you're saying, Harry Niall came up with two points there. Sam Fanning came on off the bench. There was a guy, Dylan Nulty there, number 7. I was very impressed with him. And that's without James Mitchell and Ronan Murray. I don't know what the story of Ronan Murray is now, because
he was number 18, I think, wasn't he?
right, yeah. So maybe he's
sporting a nice haircut as well. Nicely bleached blonde.
Yeah. So and I think the thing with Moat is and with, I suppose, the Moat supporters maybe at times can be critical of them and get on their backs when things aren't going well, but then they're great when their tails are up and they're going well and they're winning and the crowd are behind them. Like, they have a good bit of momentum there with 2 wins in a row now. They'll fancy
the next one.
sewing up their I know, look, I'm not going back over the system, but I think Moat are the only team who haven't got out of that Section B. Like, Hallucan have been in Section A, Athlone have been in Section A, Thurles Pass, Tang have been in Section A. So, I know Tubber Clare only up from intermediate. So it's really now the chance for Moat to push on. We're talking about Moat being a young team, and winning under 20s, and now is the time, and they're not as reliant on Robbie. Like Toby Conti was good again at the weekend.
Yeah, kicked a couple of good points to left foot.
Yeah,
and he did well. And he's a handful in there if they get a ball in. And even Hagen now was playing centre forward and put in a good shift. But Tang, a couple of injuries. Robert English went off at the time when it was in the melting pot as well. And but like if it comes to them in third pass, for a relegation game. Like they got out of it last year, the relegated Malachis. They know what it's about, and it just might tip them. Group 1, the Downs 218, Mullingar Shamrocks 113, Carson Kinnegad 1-6, Colliery 8 points, Garrycastle 16, Lomans 210. Start with the one on Saturday, the Downs and Mullingar Shamrocks. Now, I'm going to make a statement and say that I think the Downs showed real form on Saturday night. I know, Andy, you see the game?
I watched it on Iarmhi TV,
It was a big, the injury to Shane Ormsby.
Yeah.
And I probably put the blight. I was looking at it and I was like, isn't it great to see the two Ormsbys playing? Because the two boys have had chronic luck with injuries. And it was great. And next thing he went to, and Mullingar started really well. Ryan Kelly got the goal. I think, did he say he come back from a serious injury? Yeah, and he looks like he's filled out into a senior football.
He was part of that minor team, but he was excellent.
He was part of the under 20 All Ireland B winning team
as well.
And he was underage this year and couldn't play.
That incident you were talking about, Shane Ormsby going off at the same time the Downs introduced Kevin O'Sullivan. And it turned the whole game where Shane Ormsby's influence was lost on one side and Kevin Sullivan looked like he'd never been away when he came on then as well.
And in fairness to the Downs, like your man Alex Sheeran hit the crossbar on the stroke at half time. And the Downs, I think they might have went in a point ahead, but I think I'm a massive fan of Kieran Nolan. I think he's a Rolls Royce there. He just makes everything tick. And even they've started to bring in a few new names, like there's a Josh Murta there. I know Billy Moffat he was on that under 20 team as well. There was a Michael Maloney. They're starting to freshen up that team.
He was captain of that. Wasn't he captain of the Gloucester team?
No, Mikey Weir, I think, might have been captain of that.
Oh, he was captain. Yeah, he was wing back. Sorry, got man the match in the final.
Dean Egerton was another man.
Game. Was he number 10?
He was number 10.
He had a great game.
7 points.
7.
Yeah.
But they're just starting to get going.
Yeah.
And to put in a performance like Luke put in, after been out for the injury that he had.
Yeah.
He's just an outrageous. He's an outrageous athlete. To be able to just come back in and just look like he's never been away.
Niall Mitchell's a handful as well. Ian Martin. People disappointed with his form. A goal and 2 points. I'd take that from his centre half forward any night, any day. Philip.
They've a lot of different threats. Niall Mitchell, you have the big man kind of the square. Luke obviously takes 2 or 3 lads to mark him. Ian Martin, I know Tom Chu went off injured,
but they're great to watch.
Yeah, and the goal they scored, the second goal, Charlie Drum's goal.
Yeah,
they just he almost walked into the net. They just cut Mullingar.
They're an outrageous team to watch, and they just they're going to Johnny Lynham by all accounts. Did he?
No, so I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I didn't. Someone said that he's very close to being back, which is
a miracle.
Seems outrageous, but if they can get a full squad out onto the pitch.
I think did Dara Egerton come on?
Dara Egerton came on sub as well, and
he's had bad luck with him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I was very impressed, and you mentioned him was Josh Murta.
Yeah,
he's more renowned for hurling.
Yeah,
he ambled up the field. I think amble was done. I think it was the word I used on it.
Yeah.
But he kept coming up the field. He's only a young player playing senior, I'd say, for the first time this year. And Luke just popped the ball over the top, and he kept going on, and he did your famous thing. Twisted it over the bar.
Yeah.
But he certainly looked like a young fella now that's settling into senior football.
Because I think they've lost 1 or 2, Conor Coughlin and a couple other boys.
Yeah.
And the likes of Johnny with injury, but. Yeah, look, I know you said, Alan, after the second round with 2 draws on the board, no losses, given the boys that had to come back in, they'd be delighted, and they're starting to really tick now at the right time. And look, they've Colliery in the next round could be lambs to the slaughter there, so it's just, I know in Athlone that happened to us last year in round 4, we played them over on the bridge, and they gave us a bit of a clip in there when they were really starting to motor.
Yeah.
And they're just, I saw a few people tipping them for Leinster already this year, like, so.
Well, they won't be thinking like that.
No, they won't.
I thought, it's the first time they really shot on the form. Mullingar will be disappointed, but in fairness to Mullingar, they lost Dennis Caroon from the last big player. Even during the game, then they lost Donnacha Maguire, went off injured as well. Shane Ormsby went off. Chris Ormsby looked like he was going to go off injured as well. I thought they just showed maybe a little lack of experience. I think
youthful
players.
They were in right in just before the Downs got the first goal. There might have been only 2 or 3 points in it, and there was a bit of a mistake where the player kind of just failed to pick the ball. The Downs got in and got a goal, and then they got another one. Charlie Drum got another goal straight away, and that was kind of curtains like. But Mullingar, as you said, like losing Shane Ormsby without Dennis, they just lost that kind of real physical presence around that middle, and the Downs are just a bit more down the track than
the big thing I find with the Downs, if you look at them, is that if they get a big score, that be a 2-point or a goal or whatever, or an outrageous point, they put a serious focus on winning the next kick out.
Yeah.
Like the next kick out to them is the most important kick out of the game, and to try and like it's a great mantra to get your team into thinking about it, is that like if you can score a goal out of the blue for 3 points and then you can overturn the next kick out and get another point or a 2-pointer, it's gone from a draw game to 5 points or 4 points between you very quickly, and it's a big thing now, and I think lots of teams are going to be putting a big press in these kickouts. Yeah,
look at Mullingar, quick word on them. I felt when Shane Ormsby went off, they ended up making maybe 4 or 5 position switches to bring on a sub, but I thought Ty Maston excellent again, a 6 on them. So he definitely will be in the future.
Yeah, I suppose he's wearing 6, but he's kind of he's not that traditional hold, and he's everywhere. And maybe he's not actually playing 6. It's hard to see when you're watching the games. Like, but look at
it's hard to see it and tell you what he's doing. But he's a great prospect going forward.
He looks like in the jersey. He's sometimes, like Alan was saying, going back to the junior, it takes guys 2 or 3 years to get up to that standard. But he's come in there like he's playing all his life, and he fills out the jersey.
And he's a solid young lad as well now. I had a very minor part to play with the under-20s. It was there on match days only, but really solid, and he was like a lad that soaks up information. Like Kenny and the boys were giving him information, and he was just taking everything on board. And where you'd have some lads down tying laces and looking around and drinking out of the water, and then looking for a banana or something like that. But he soaked up every bit of information that was given to him, and I'd say he's a dream to train.
Yeah. Carson Kinnegad showing good form again, won 16 to 8 points over Colliery. No real surprise about going with form there.
I was at that. Actually. It was the very start of the match it just epitomised what happened throughout it. Like Colliery had the ball. I'd say they kept it for 3 minutes, went over and back, and then just a little loose pass that was cut out by Brian Cooney, and he was brave. Now he had to go down on it with 2 Colliery lads coming in, but he got up, 2 kick passes, the ball was over the bar. So from having the ball for 3-4 minutes, turnover, bang bang over the bar, and they just went on from there. And you'd have to say they were extremely impressive.
Right.
Extremely impressive. They just moved the ball quicker than I've ever seen Kinnegad moving it.
Yeah.
They moved it on. Obviously Jack has done major work.
Yeah, on the new road, yes, definitely.
And he made, in fairness, they got to the county final and were within a kick of a ball of winning it. Very, very close to winning last year, but they've progressed and moved on themselves. And at the minute, you'd have to say, from looking at it, it's between the two of them. I would say. That's not ruling out Lomans or Tubberclare or Shamrocks or whoever's going to come out of that group. But at the minute, the 2 best teams in Westmeath are Kinnegad and the Downs.
Yeah, Gary has 16, Lomans 210. Lomans is a lovely stat of having 3 games played, haven't lost one, but haven't won one, 3 draws. And they were disappointed. They certainly would have been They felt, I'd say, against the Downs, they left it behind them, and I said they definitely felt last night that they left it behind them as well.
I didn't see this game at all.
I watched it. I watched the good, probably the last 45 minutes of it. I think you were watching as well, Nolly. It's like they're missing a spark or something. Yeah. It's like they're just, again, you're looking at the team and they've huge experience and
they have all their guns of layer, like, you know.
Yeah, and it's just maybe they're missing that bit of guile of a run until he can pull a rabbit out of a hat or something. And they were probably they're probably blessed to get over it. I know there was a mistake there and they got the goal, and next thing they got a goal followed up, with the second goal, and you thought they might kick for home there. And in fairness to Gary Castle, they kind of hung on, and I thought Owen Vehicle was very impressive. He scored 3 points there.
With the last equalised with pretty much the last kick.
Even composure for that kick, you have to take around the man first. Owen was a great footballer in fairness to him.
Is it one of these things that Lomans were so dominant under the old rules?
Yeah.
Like they really, really dominated Westmeath football for years under the old rules. Are they getting it hard now themselves to progress to the new rules?
Yeah, but
I know they won the championship 2 years ago.
But the quality of forwards, Alan, like you've John Hess and Shane Dempsey in there.
Penalties that day,
But I just think that they're not transitioning from defence into attack quick enough.
That's one thing I would have noted on them yesterday, is that they never really seemed to get out of second gear, maybe third gear. They didn't seem like the driving force that you're used to watching the Lomans. And now I'm not saying it was through lack of effort. I don't know what it was. It's just, again, you don't see a full game on TV the way you would if you're at it. But it just looked.
I think they find it hard to. You go to their game, and I'd say you have a bit of a headache. There's always seems to be changes, and they never seem to play the same team 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to find that bit of chemistry and settle on their best 15, because they haven't, lost a huge amount of players. Like John Heston, I think that he scored 216 or something a few years ago on his own in a semi-final. They have the talent. It's just like they're trying to find that bit of energy from somewhere that'll spark them into life. And
just looking at their last 2 games, like they were well ahead against the Downs. The Downs had to bring Charlie Drum out to see could they get a bit of go forward ball. John Heston was in full forward for a couple of minutes on probably a young lad that has only just come onto the scene, and they never kicked the ball into him.
Yeah.
They did the same against Mullingar Shamrocks. Mullingar Shamrocks are extremely young and just didn't kick it. But Heston was in there for 7, 8, 9 minutes on his own and never kicked the ball into him. It's not as if it's me that's in there and the ball has to go in low and I have to come out and win it. You can lure this in any way you want. You just have to just say, right, I'm getting that ball in there as soon as I can. And I think they'd be way better if they did that. But it must be hard to go back to the well year after year, all the time. Like, these boys are an absolute credit to Westmeath football. Like, Paddy Dowdall has won championships with them, has lost championships with them, but he was there and he was the driving force behind them winning. So it's very hard to be critical of them when I just think that they're just not moving the ball that quick, that they can get the ball in. And if you have someone like him in there, like he's still probably the most accurate player in Westmeath.
2 2-pointers and a point from a free. That's all he scored. All from frees. Like, he didn't score from play and that. I think for St. Lomans, after the game, I think the overriding feeling for them was pure frustration. Like, see John going out, like, and it was just frustrated that another game that we
could have
didn't
6
win.
points on the board easily.
Very, very simple. A quick word on Gary Castle before we finish up. Went 4 up, went 4 down, and did well to come back and get a draw. So a bit of battle there. Gary and the lads will be happy enough with how that went for them. Probably keeps them in contention a little bit now.
Yeah, well, look, there's three teams tied on 3 points there. Like, so it's. Look at Gary Castle and Shamrocks in the next round is a massive.
That's a big one.
I suppose we won't write off a draw on that either, but like that'll probably potentially give the winner that 5 points and a head-to-head over the loser. That might just be enough.
We should be enough
to get you third place. Yeah.
But the thing about this is that Gary Castle have to be very happy with the way things are going, because they won the intermediate 2 years ago. Got to the quarter-final last year.
Came out of second.
Against Shamrocks, wasn't it? Should have won.
Yeah.
Should have won that quarter-final last year and didn't. But now they're up. Like, if you told them 2 years ago when they were down intermediate, you'll play in the top tier in Westmeath in 2 years' time, they would have taken their hand off. And
with that free with Ben McGorn and the free in the last kick of the game. I'd say if you told him at that stage you're going to play in But it shows the difference that like John Keane and Gary Dolan have had on Gary Castle. I think they might have won a few championships in their first stint as management.
Won one, yeah. Ben Lomans in
and it's funny, like they're still going back to the same name. Like Jimmy Dolan didn't start. Through McCallans, Cozzy, Alex Gardner, Owen Mulvihill. You know, there's a lot of experience there, and as Boda says there, like I'm sure they're delighted with 2 games to go. They're right in the mix there.
Yeah, still a chance on it. Before we finish up, lads, I'm going to put the 3 on the spot now. You're 3 men that's involved with management. There's a Westmeath under 20 football job up for the grabs. Any interest in any from either of the 3? Can I send your name in for an interview? Alan, I start with you first there.
No.
Ollie, any aspirations yet? No.
Far too green at this stage. No.
You can't use that excuse. No, I see you're padding out your.
You see, the rumour going around Westmeath, Ray, is that this man might be on the ticket.
All right.
That's going in for it. So that's an unfair question to ask.
Well, Alan, this is what we're here for. The people are watching us. They want to get the up-to-date news.
Just say no, or we won't hold it against them.
I haven't heard a whole lot. I know there's only been a change of management recently, but I suppose they're a very talented age group. You know, they've probably had good experience over the last 2 years with the management team that was there. So, you know, I suppose whoever does go in for it will be.
It's not right, but it's not a no. It's not a no. That's okay. Look, we'll let you go, lads. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with further looking forward to the hurling fixtures and looking at the LGFA fixtures as well and fixtures coming forward. Noli, best of luck with dipping your toe into management. Whatever bit you'll be like Danny McDermott in about 3 years' time. You'll have none of it left. You'll have it pulled out. Even though Alan Mangan is doing well, held on to it. And Owen Joy Jordan, best of luck down with Strokes down in Roscommon. That's the right thing. Spread the wings, get the experience. The best of luck with that as well. But keep an eye on all things in Westmeath as well. I know you're refereeing and stuff like that as well. So you're a busy man since you came back. Lads, we're going to take a break and just run ads there, I think, for a couple of minutes, and we'll be back then with the second part of the show. Thanks to our 3 pundits. Welcome back to episode 11. Welcome back to the second half of our show here, episode 11 of the Iarmhi podcast. And again, a shout out quickly before we start to our sponsors, 6 sponsors: Tire Warrior Garage down in the Pigeons, in Athlone, Sinead Shed in Kilmagan, Michael Mannion, CBRT Centre in the Blair Industrial Estate in Athlone, Dr.ie, Clark's Bar here where we are back again tonight, and Casey Sports. And remember as well, we'll be launching a new range of gear, so all the boys will be all decked out next week as well in our new gear. Lads, hurling. It seems like a long time since we talked hurling. 2 weeks of football, and I think we're going to get 1 week of hurling, and then we're going to be hit with 3 more weeks of football by all accounts. Anyway, the fixtures coming up this week, we'll go in reverse order, probably the quickest way of doing it. Intermediate, Saturday, Southern Gales versus Iarmhi, 5:30 in Ballymore. On Saturday, Castletown versus Tuam at 5:30 in Killucan. And on Sunday, Clonkill versus Cullen at 2 p.m. in Robinstown. This group now is taking fair shape here now at this stage, and Cullen passed, probably got their season maybe with a chance of getting it back online now with the win in the last game, but tough one against Clonkill now next Sunday.
Yeah, look, they did, I suppose, but I did say, and I kept saying it, and I still believe in Cullen, that they will come strong towards the end of the season. Like, you know, I seen that game, and you could see the Jack Illens, the Jack Alvins, and the two
Kevin
Regans, you know, they're standing out, and they're only going to improve, you know, to have that ability to lift the game when it's needed. And I did stay at the last day that Gillen's striking was immaculate. It was unbelievable. He was striking balls from 120 yards accurate. It wasn't just ballooning. He knew what he was doing. But Clonkill, you know, I'm looking at this, and this is a really good competition as regards what I think. There's only a personal view where it could finish up. It could finish up that Tuam and Cullen could be on top with 6 points. And you could have 4 points along the way for the rest of them. Now, a few things will have to fall into place, but I still think Southern Gales, they have no points on the board, but they are capable of picking up 4 points. They were a little bit unlucky. They're not playing that terrible poorly. They have a sprinkling of some very good hurlers in it, but just things are not just falling for them. But they're still, if they have the self-belief, now this is another thing, they must have the belief that they can find these 4 points. They're there for them. They're definitely, because I think they end up playing the 2 second strings
in the last 2 games.
But like Clonkill, in fairness to them, like they have been devastated with their numbers and the guys that had to go to the senior end of it, you know. So look you have. I would expect Cullen to get this. You know, the Cullen needed. They just got 2 points. They definitely need, you know, a minimum of another 2. You know, with 4 teams making a semi-final. But they'll find nothing simple, because Tuam, to their peril, thought like Clonkill were struggling after losing their first 2 matches, and they were out and they had 5 goals scored early on. Like, so there's older heads in Clonkill sprinkled with the younger lads, and they blend well together. You know, so, you know, you have to be on your game to beat Clonkill, but I think Cullen, you know, once they got 1 win up and there's a little bit more focus, I would expect that they should be good enough.
Yeah, like Pat says, Adrian, Tuam probably would have been expected to really consolidate top position the last round, and came a cropper to Clonkill. They have Castletown now this weekend as well, and you know, Castletown I think turned over was the Southern Gales in the last group. So, you know, I suppose the best thing to say about this group is anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose with Tuam being in the final last year, that's their minimum target, is to get back into a final. It has to be, like, and as we spoke here last year about them, like, you know, it's time for Tuam now with the youth that we've been talking about, and the county has been talking about for the last number of years, to push on and get through. So you'd be expecting Tuam to come through. Like, they did get caught with Clonkill, and you know, were they overconfident in that, or how they you know, some days you can just get caught that your momentum is going so well, and the local derby just catches you.
Yeah, and Clonkill then would always be trying that little bit harder.
Yeah, but I'd say going forward, Ray, the Clonkill management won't be over concerned about that, because they'll always have it on the yardstick at the back of their mind. Say, lads, we sailed all the way through the round robin last year. We didn't justify what we'd done in the county final. Now you see what can happen if you take your eye off the ball. We need to refocus, get back on track again. It could be a blessing in disguise for them.
It'll be a good stick.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
Yeah, I think you said that the last step, had a good wake up call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like that'll be a nice test for them now on Saturday against Castletown, because Castletown, you know, you're going to say it again. They've all the young lads, but it'll be hurling. So that'll, you know, it's another good opportunity to get experience of playing, you know, a proper hurling team, because you know, Castletown won't bring you physicality, but they'll bring plenty of skill.
There's Castletown, you know, the young lads are going okay, you know, and if it's dry weekend or that, you know, like they like the fast ball and they'll move it well. No, they'll give them a good test, absolutely. Now, you know, I don't know whether Plunkett was there the last day, whether he's gone back. He's to go back to Dubai. I'm not sure whether he's gone already or not. He played yesterday, I know, for Rosemont, so I'm just not sure. But no, look at Castletown. Have no fears whatsoever of playing them, and there's no pressure on Castletown whatsoever either.
Yeah.
They're just playing. They're all delighted to be playing games. Irrespective of whether they get through the knockout stages or not, they just enjoy playing, and they train with the seniors, so the training is good. So they'll just go with the freedom.
Young Cassidy, I think, was very much to the fore. I think in the last round, he's son of John Cassidy, as far as I know. But he's again another product of your underage.
Yeah. But look at he's playing senior football yesterday, or intermediate football yesterday as well. Like, so a lot of them lads are playing. They're getting good fitness. Match fitness, because they're playing with the football team as well. And the last day actually I seen the introduced Shane Corcoran. Now Shane would be a prolific footballer with Westmeath and Malachy's and that, but he'll get to the ball. And he'll get it, but he has to. He wouldn't have had the work done compared to a lot of them. But if you have a fella that's gets to the ball and just uses his head, a simple hand pass will do an awful lot effective.
Or he puts it in the hurl and starts to run.
Yeah. Well, that's just it.
It can be very hard to stop him with it as well. Raharney Southern Gales. Raharney caught a thing in the last game as well.
Well, they were called. Castletown beat them the last day, and by all accounts, like Raharney, there was 2-14 to 1-12. They had chances, they missed frees, and they kind of had a good few wides and whatever, But this is Southern Gales county final.
It is.
They must get 2 points here, or they'll be looking at themselves saying, "Well, what's gone wrong here?" Because they're risking an awful lot backing up this present Southern Gales team, unfortunately. There is one young guy there, we had him at the minor, young Geary, is terrific talent. But I mean, one won't make any difference going forward, in a year or two. But the present team they have, they're ever sprinkled. Like the other Geary guy, Keane Geary, he scored 3 for great points from wing back. Sean Dowd, very good. McCarthy is very good. He's a huge man, the Keogh is back in the goals. They have a sprinkling of talent to be doing better than what they are. I think
when you compare them over the last 3 years, this is probably the poorest they've been. Because even last year we were expecting them to finish very, very top of the table and maybe get to a county final as well. And but they're just so sluggish this year to get going. But one win, the same as Cullion, can
look at lads. Yeah, well, no one knows better than me that a couple of wins is all it takes, and that, and you go into the hurling starts when you make the semi-final stage, and that's And Southern Gales. We had lads on here earlier on, Nolly Mulligan, who would have done a bit of hurling with Southern Gales, and I spoke to him just before we went on air, and they should have said to themselves, well, if St. Bridget's can win an intermediate championship, we can win an intermediate championship. Would have had always able to get the better of Bridges. For
and it's back the same, but the same battle that Turin have. Turin have to look at Castletown, and with no disrespect to Pat or Castletown, a second string team. Yeah. So if you're going to win a championship, and you have to be getting over the second string teams.
Well, I had a faith in Southern Gales and Martin Geary at the moment that it's only just a click of a button just to get that yes or no. And I think they have the ability to win their last 2 games. And I think 4 points will be very, very close to getting in the semi-final.
Yeah, and as I said, that's where the hurling starts. Yeah. Senior B games this weekend. On Friday evening, Castlepotter versus Crooked Wood. That's at 7 o'clock in Ringtown. On Saturday then, Oliver Plunkett's versus Brownstown. That's at 5 p.m. in TG Cusick Park. That game is live on Iarmhi TV as far as I'm aware. And on Sunday then you have Ringtown and St. Bridget's in 2 o'clock in Kinnegad. I'll start with that game, the Sunday game, Ringtown and Bridget's. Adrian, I know myself and yourself, and we won't come to blows over this one anyway, but I think it's fair to say this is the relegation game.
Yeah, I think
Bridges, I know, played Pollard in the last game. Now anything can happen.
Ringtown and Plunkett's in the last game.
Right.
So both clubs are struggling for points and have big contenders, we'll say, in their last games. So it is a very fair point to say it's a relegation game. From the outset, I think I said it here to start that we're just struggling this year. Ringtown are struggling. Numbers report start of the year. We lost so many lads in the last 3 years. We'll say I think there's 7 lads gone to Australia in the last 3 years. But probably one of our biggest issues at the moment is firepower up front and winning our own puck outs is an issue, and I know that can be an issue with lots of teams. But even the last day with the Crooked Wood match, You know, people saying to you, you know, you bet the wood, you bet the wood. Ringtown have struggled to beat Crookerwood over the last 10 years at different, at different stages. And I'd say if we were to look at it, the Wood were probably on top in championship wins. If you look back at the stats over the last number of years. So it definitely is, and it's while Bridges won the intermediate championship last year and have come up, there's no God-given right to Ringtown. Just the fact they're the senior B for a number of years now that they're going to win the match. It'll be a real dogfight. It'll be a battle, and Ringtown are expecting that from Bridges. Like the physicality that Bridges will bring to it alone, and the physical fitness, the physique. They're big men, and from the last day, like Mikey Mullen wasn't hurling the last day, so he has to come back into that squad. Charles Flynn had surgery a few weeks ago on his thumb, so he's a big presence in the Ringtown team of this year's team, and he's a big loss to us at the moment.
Pat Bridges' last game against Oliver Plunkett, I think, call a spade a spade. It was a poor outing, without Mikey Mullen. He'll come back in and give them a lift, but I don't have that enough now to get over Ringtown. Ringtown know what it's like to do battle in this level. They've remained in Senior B. This is going to take a big effort from Bridges to get the 2 points.
Yeah, look, there's no two ways of facing it. It is a relegation game, and it kind of, after the first round, it kind of looked, you could see it coming down. But Ringtown have played 3 games. They actually performed quite well in 2 of them. The first one and the previous one, they hurled well against Brownstown. Early they scored 2-17. It was just unfortunate to be out. And they scored 2-19 the last day against the Wood. And they actually hurled reasonably well, but they were very disappointing again the local derby against Castle Pollard here in the park. But Bridges will be disappointed with the last outing, the last day, as regards. They scored 1-9. They got a goal in the first 5 minutes. I think they only got 2 points from play. Plunkett's had a man down for the majority of the second half, and they didn't utilise it. Bridges didn't seem to push up. They were more defensive. But Mickey Mullen is a huge ticket to bring back. But at the same time, Ringtown will know that too, and it don't even matter of Ringtown saying, well, we target Mikey and make sure we don't foul.
Don't foul is the
and
big
that's
thing,
they're going to go a long way to it. Experience alone, I think Ringtown will have enough. It's a pity in one sense, to see the likes of St. Bridget's coming up after a great success and go straight back down if that happens. But Bridget's are a proud club, and they'll fight tooth and nail because they'll know this is the last chance saloon, because you cannot go into the last game if they're playing. They have the Castle Pollard
game,
and Ringtown also know that if Oliver Plunkett don't get a result this weekend, well, they're gunning for the last game, because there's only 3 teams make the top. So I would think Ringtown will have enough to get over the line, but I would be hoping Bridget's put their life on hold for this one and make a battle out of it, because that's what. Well, the hurling needs it, but the club needs it too. They need to see that, well, we're not rolling over here. We're going to fight.
I suppose if you go back 8 or 9 months ago when the intermediate county final was on, if you spoke to people that weren't attending games, they would have had, and looking at results, they'd say, well, that's Joran's county final. But the team that really showed up on the day was Bridges. And I know you had a massive part in that, Ray.
Yeah, well, I looked at it last year.
We weren't not looking for any inside information on what happened on the day, but we can talk later about it. But Bridges are going to come here gung ho, and Ringtown will as well. I think it could be a really good cracking game, as in like when there's so much at stake.
Sure, it's a final. Like basically, it's their final, because the winner here, it's huge relief. Relief is the word. And nobody wants to go back down a grade, no matter what club you are. Nobody wants to step back down.
It's you're talking about Bridges going back down. We were down there for maybe 10 years. Every year you think that
this is it. We're coming out.
This is it.
Yeah, but
and just when you bounce down, so when you go down, there's no automatic return.
Yeah, well, that's just exactly your words. If you think of it, who's back down there? Only one of Turin, say the Cullen, Southern Gales, and the second string. And Castlehown won this competition 2 years or 3 years ago.
And Clonkill won it.
And Clonkill have won it. So it's not easy to come back out there.
No.
That's no.
And I think, like you said, Ringtown were in it for 10 years. Bridges were probably in it for longer.
We're in it for more. It could be 13.
It's a graveyard to go down there. It's
2009 or something. You're relegated, something like that.
And look, when you're blooding young lads as well, it's always better the higher the standard you're blood them at as well.
Oh, absolutely, because when the fear of the fear that I would have that when if we are relegated, please God we won't be, but it's who you lose, your leaders in your dressing room. While you might call them older guys, we haven't the numbers at the moment be losing too many more. And there is a nice little bit of youth there, and there's youth that needs exposure to higher grade hurling.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. But that's the big one. The other game then on the Saturday evening, it's on in TG Cusick Park. It's live near TV part of a double header. Oliver Plunkett's in Brownstown. I mean, we would expect this is a battle to see. Will it be a repeat of a semi-final again? Our Pollard suffering, like Darren McCormick is pretty much ruled out for the rest of the year. Will these two teams now, do Pollard come back to these two teams more now? Brownstown got a draw against Pollard the last day. They'll be buoyed by that.
Dara is out. It is good news to a certain degree. For Dara, it's good news that it's not a cruciate. Okay. It's another injury in the knee, and he's out for a few weeks. But you have to add into that is Conor Gaffney and David Higgins went off with the football match as well. He's a groin injury. So they're three big players. In particular, Dara is a massive loss, as we all know. Conor Gaffney is a big loss, and Higgins was a threat up front. He was a target man.
Yeah, big man.
So take three out of. There are three names that you're going to be on your starting 15 every day of the week. So you take them three names out. I think the Wood will be hunting this.
Yeah, and they're still you write them off every year for this, that, and the other. But if they turn over Pollard, they throw themselves right into the mix, and it becomes 4 for 3.
This is a very interesting. This is the game that it's ideal for the people. It's venue wise is perfect. You have two teams just one side of Ringtown, and so anybody from the Gales across all that surrounding should go on Friday night, because it's. I think this could, without them 2 or 3 fellas, if they're missing for Pollard, these guys will smell blood, and the Wood are the best at finding their mojo when everyone thinks they have it lost. Barry is back on song, and he's pulling in the likes of Fahey there. It's going well, and they have McGovern, is it?
And Adam Bates.
Adam Bates and Shane McGovern. They have a sprinkling of nice players, and they're hard workers. They have 4 points on the board at the moment. If they feel they can get another win, that's 6 points. That's very close to getting. It's very close to it. Very close to it. And it's a tight competition now.
And that if that works out, that the Wood turn over Pollard, you've then in a situation with Castle Pollard, who we've made favourites of this group, are down 3 points.
Where the other game could be a county final spot for Plunkett's or
Brownstown.
Now at the start, remember, I did hit Brownstown as a dark horse. I think Brownstown could still end up at top of the table here.
Yeah, look at Brian Gearan is a big advantage to me. He's back running well at that level. But Pat, I know you got a little bit of stick at one stage or some stage from some of the Oliver Plunkett's players with what you said, but as always, everything you say is being truthful.
Yeah, look at when I have the platform, I said I'd wait till that. We did state there. I did personally state the last day that they did not play that well. They took off their full forward, which happens to be the goalkeeper for Mullingar Shamrocks, and I said he possibly would maybe concentrate on football, but I mean he's an outstanding goalkeeper, as he's proved in the last 2 games since that, but also he's a top class player, because last year he scored 4 goals in a minor A final. Right. So look at, if I annoyed or offended anybody from Oliver Plunkett's, I apologise. There's no intent meant whatsoever. We say things here, we're live, it's very simple. Say the wrong word at the wrong time, we can't retract it, but we can be manly enough to apologise.
I wasn't here that evening, Pat, but I suppose a lot of people throughout the county were probably expecting a little bit more with all the minors that we've spoke about for the last number of years, when this influx of minors came through to senior. But it just proves to everybody that a guy coming out of minor, it takes 2 or 3 years to get a foothold in senior hurling. There's a huge the physical battle alone, that bit of pressure of starting championship matches, and the first year he's finding his way. Not just that young lad, every young lad that comes out of minor, and by times our own club people can be hard on young lads and expect too much of them.
Yeah,
You know, so
I think in past defence also. I mean, anyone that was in Cusack Park to watch that game between Plunkett and Bridges would have said like that the standard was so bad that evening. Like, no, that's
but
just the game it turned out to be like, and that was I would imagine that was the reason for some of your comments. But
but in Plunkett's defence, look at to have it's one thing to have a shortage of players as a headache, but it's also another headache to have an abundance of players. And you have an abundance of players coming from underage structure up to the present team that's there. It's to try and get the balance right. And we did say that on the very first game Plunketts were playing Pollard, they wouldn't be over concerned because they're trying to find their feet to know who to put in this area and who to play where and what. They're still trying to do that, but they need to get it right this weekend. They need to really just throw off the shackles and go for it, because they can't afford to slip up, because it's very tight. If it happens that if it happened that the Wood won on Friday night, the pressure then is on, because they have 6 points. You must go. You must match it or go further than it, because you have Brownstown and Pollard also there, and there's only 3 spots. You really have 4 teams going to be fighting for that. So Plunkett's have a sprinkling of very good talent, but it's just, the likes of Aaron Craig, the likes of Paddy Lynham, the goalies, irrespective of which goalie they have in, both of them are good. John Fry, they have plenty of quality. They have a lot of youth. Young Casey didn't start the last day. I think he probably will start again, because he is a good talent. If he's on the freeze, his confidence is good, and you need to have him the like of that. But they'll find Brownstown a very difficult nut to crack. Brownstown are the typical Brownstown country team. They're hardened, they're seasoned, they have plenty of quality through it. Brian Gearan is playing. He's a big unit. Philly Gilston. He gave you what you expected when he played, and he's demanding the same from them now. They don't. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and he always played that way, and that's the way he's demanding it. And they'll be very hard stopped. So that should be a good. It should be, if Plunkett's bring the A game, it'll be a great game.
Yeah, I think so. And like, if you were to put Brownstown against Plunkett's 2 years ago, you'd be expecting Plunkett's to win it, because like 2 years ago Brownstown were really struggling with numbers. Like, those championship matches we were talking about 17, 18, 19 lads. But the flip side of that this year is that they have, as I said already in the podcast, that they now have a junior team for the first time in years. So they have 30 to 32, 33 lads training. The camaraderie that brings to a club, the buzz it brings around it. So, they're matching other stronger clubs in the county, what everybody else has, with their in-house 15 on 15 games. These things all count when it comes to the crunch.
And I know their football is not going the best, but they would have had a chance now. It's been a while since they had hurling games, so they would have a chance to get lads together, maybe get a bit of work done there. Maybe that's why Paul's not where you'd expect them to be, in that the hurling is quietly confident down there that they can make a breakthrough and get into knockout stage of senior, because it's only 2-3 years ago that they were winning an intermediate final.
Well, I mean, they hurled very well against Pollard, and like, they probably felt they left 2 points behind. They got one, but they felt. But the previous game before that, they were extremely lucky to get a point win over St. Bridget's, and we have talked that Bridget's have a disappointing season, and Bridget's. I did say at the time, Bridget's will look back on this campaign and say there was an opportunity slipped against Brownstown. They had that game there, and it just happened the way it panned out. But look at. It has the makings of a good game. You'd be hoping it would. Plunkett's need to lift their standard. They were disappointed. They had to be disappointed within themselves. The last day.
It's performance, Pat.
Performance-wise, to get it.
It's to get the performance that they're capable of putting in.
They're a team that haven't clicked. Yeah, that's the word. That happened. Yeah, but look at this is the time of the year now to start, because we're heading down to the business end of the championship as such. So. 3 games in that Senior B this weekend, and it could be lots of chopping and changing. Looking at it already, you're 14 for 3 places, and we'll get a far better idea by this weekend as to who's going to make semi-finals and final. Senior A, Saturday, Lough Lane Gales versus Clonkill, 6:45 in TG Cusack Park. That's part of the double header with Oliver Plunkett and Brownstone on Earmhi TV. And the next two games, both on the Sunday in TGQ Park, both live on Earmhi TV as well. So the hurling people getting a chance to see some hurling this weekend. 3:30 Delva versus Father Daltons, and at 5:15 Iarmhi versus Castletowngeoghegan. Now, looking at the first game on the Saturday, Loughlin Gales and Clonkill. Probably fair to say that Clonkill are at last chance saloon here, that if they get overturned here, well, it's only a matter, we'll know what three are going to the knockout stage. It's only a matter of who goes where.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the scenario. But
Yeah.
Clonkill will bring thunder and brimstone with them, because they know that if they can win this one, they can still, they're still not out. There's still hope, and they're a proud outfit, and they'll give you absolutely everything. Luke, he's back. Whether he hurls or not, I don't rightly know. But I did see a statement on the paper today where he gave an article that he was prepared to go weekend, hurling football, and see. Hopefully his injury will be perfect.
Yeah.
So whether, I know, it's all right and fine and saying, well, he's back, but he hasn't been back with a hurl, it's okay. His football talent it's just there. He just has it.
Yeah.
But he hasn't, if you think of it, when was his last hurling match? Because if you'd have to.
Sometime last year.
Well, that's just it. You see,
September last year, I'd say.
You'd have to go back through all his Westmeath games and all the league games for the county. So hurling is a game. I don't care. You must be at it on a continuous basis to keep the skill level and the touch and all that right. So anyway, apart from that issue, Loughlin Gales will, they'll give Clonkill the utmost respect, because they know that they'll be in for a battle. Clonkill have a sprinkling of young lads coming through, and they will come. They're coming again. They were down last year, and they won't be down for too long. They'll get it together. At the moment, they're the strongest underage club at the moment at 14, 16 and 18. They're very, very good. There's some very talented young lads coming through. But like Darrell back now is a huge help to them. Mitchell back, and he's showing his old style of getting into it.
Yeah.
And then Tricky, as you call him, up front, he's as good a young lad as there's out there.
Yeah, they held them from the last game. I think it was fairly obvious they were going to win it, so they didn't. Good management.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't risk him.
Yeah.
They've had another 2-week break, so he should be coming in this. But
they're probably as strong as. This is the strongest position to be in all year in relation to the players that's available to them, I'd imagine.
Pater Scally back as well.
Yeah. No, they have plenty of this sprinkling. If they get off to a good start, they'll be hard, to reel in.
The Gales would have had momentum, I would have felt, after the last game against Castletown, to get that win. It's been something like 2-3 years since they got one over Castletown. They would have got that. Then, have to sit for 3 weeks for a game again.
I know that, but I think
does it affect them?
Well, the Gales. You see, the Gales at the moment now are nearly all hurlers. There's hardly any footballers there anymore. And they did find games. They didn't worry about Joy's clever enough to know where to go and tip around, and he was able to find them, and he got good games as well. So they're keeping their touch and all that together. They'll be very upbeat after the last day. Once they got one over in Castletown, they'll be quite happy. And to score 27 points is not something to do that often. It was a good tally. Now, they always were good at finding the net. They didn't actually create any goal chances, but 27 points was a good score to get. They'll be up for this. They know that, win on Saturday, well, they're 1 foot in the top 3.
You're hurling into
no, they're going the right where they want to go.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, look at Clonkill will really have to be at the top of their game to overturn the Gales this time. But they'll bring the best out in them.
Yeah. And the local rivalry is there in it as well.
The difference this year with the Gales is that they have a stronger panel.
Yeah.
McCrossan coming back hurling, even though he hasn't hurling, I don't know, I'd say maybe 4 years. It's 4 anyway, I'd say, yeah. And Rian Williams.
Yeah. But both of them scored 2 points each the last day, and that was a big plus.
But if those two guys are to start, that's 2 guys that's gone from last year's championship team, because to be fair, last year we nearly all could have picked the Gales.
Yeah, but them 2 lads that are gone, they're actually 2 good subs to have now.
Yeah, but
where they didn't have them before.
It's creating that bit of hunger.
Oh, yeah.
And also when Joey turns around now from the sideline to look up into the stand.
He has an
He has
option.
other young lads coming in, and
Well, there's 2 lads that played in probably 3 county finals.
Yeah.
yes,
You know, at some stage.
So they're-
you know,
the hunger,
absolutely.
the hunger has to be there from the Gales as well. You know,
I know it's
it wouldn't surprise you if Clonkill got a result.
no, possibly not. I don't know, but
Well, the champion could do with it.
it's look at it's the makings of of what you call a cracker. That's what you want. This is
Yeah.
what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
You know, these top games, and
Yeah.
this is a top game.
Yeah,
You know,
football-
and if both of them bring their A game, well, then we're in for a 3.
Yeah, because football has had the limelight
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And it's time for the hurlers to put their heads up again.
Yeah.
First game on Sunday, first part of the double header, and you know, Fringtown and Bridget's, I said had the looking of a relegation game. Well, this game definitely is a relegation game. Delvin and Father Dalton's 3:30 in TG Cusick Park. It's looking at the performances of the 2 teams so far. Okay, they've played 3 and lost 3, but Dalton's, I think, have acquitted themselves better.
Yeah, I mean, Dalton's, look at, they're more experienced, they're seasoned, they have acquitted themselves much better. Like, the one thing that Dalton's haven't done this year that they've done every other year was score goals. They just haven't found the goals this year.
Yeah.
They've gone 3 games with no goals.
Yeah.
And it's a kind of something that you'd have got long odds on it for that to happen. Delvin are just in such, I suppose, depression, if you want to call it that way. They just ran up against juggernauts every day they went out. And it must be very frustrating for Seamus and even the players, knowing that, oh, we're playing another strong outfit. You know, it's not easy, you know. But when you lose players, and then players it's easy for players to hide away and say, I'm unavailable and I can't play. You know, whereas last year, well, they knew they had the measure of all the teams they were playing. And all of a sudden, oh, sure, my leg is not too bad and I'll play. You know, but this year it's different. I can only see one outcome. Yeah. Judging by form, if you go on form, the 3 games like Plunkett's, you know, Dalton's, they didn't perform what I would say the first day against Castletown with that heart and drive and passion, you know. And I'd say Dalton's at the moment, Ballymore going really well in the football. I'd say Dalton's just want to consolidate senior, get this game out of the way, get the 2 points, and we'll see where the football goes for this year. You know, there a lot of them are all the same guys that are playing around, you know. So
Delvin still have a capability of scoring.
oh, sure they have.
Fire.
They scored 113, they scored
22
12
points,
and
wasn't
22 the first day against the Gales.
Like, scoring 22 against the Gales, and we spoke about it here afterwards. That's a good accomplishment for, with the depletion of the squad that Seamus had from the start of the year. Like, realistically, Seamus, looking at his panel, we'll say last March, when it was realistic to him who was available and who was going travelling, who wasn't going to be around. He had a very daunting year ahead of him.
Yeah, yeah.
But to go out and score 22 points against the Gales.
Yeah, but they backed it up though with only 14 scores the next 2 games each.
But the point I'm making is that they have the capability of doing it.
have,
And with Dalton's not scoring goals, you know, it could be a tighter affair than what we might think.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what they be hoping for. Delvin will be hoping. Like, Darrell Clinton has been outstanding for them, and you know, he's led by example. He's the captain of the team. He's been their main scorer as well. So you know, they need a bit of backup. It's like losing Dean Ennis, a huge loss for the whole year. You know, they need, you know, their backbone. We all know they're backbone by 4 to 5 players. Well, they need those 4 or 5 players.
But it's,
you know, really on it.
It's back to the Ringtown Bridget scenario, knowing that if you drop back down, it's a hell of a battle to get back up.
Yeah.
So it's I think there'd be a huge fight in Delvin at the weekend as well. I'd see it to be close enough.
Yeah, but then it all depends on attitude. They can look at it in 2 ways. They can look at it and say, well, we want to stay up here. Or he can look at it and say, well, we're not ready for up here. We did win the lower division last year, but we're not just, there's too big of a step here. It mightn't be the worst thing if we did go back, regroup, if it took us a year or 2 and maybe come and experience. That does happen, teams. Yeah. It did happen the likes of Father Dalton's, and Father Dalton's now have established themselves that on their day, Father Dalton's give any of the 4 big teams a run at it. Yeah. And the day is only coming that they will take a scalp off one of them.
Yeah, they did against Hardy in the last game as well. We were at it, had chances of goals as well, and it could have been a hell of a lot closer than the 3 goals. That was the difference. But it's the same, Adrian, the same as when you go back into me. When you go back down to Senior B for either of these teams, it'll be a dogfight to get back out.
Absolutely,
You have to-
sure. Oh,
you
yeah.
would have to be 2 or 3 years, lads decide, well, that's it, I'm giving it up now, and then you're trying to blood young lads. And
I've been about Ringtown through the late noughties when we played in, I think, 6 relegation years, one after another. The only match we won any year was a relegation match. But you treated it like it was do or die.
It has to be. Sure, you're playing for the pride of your parish and your jersey, and I'm sure both of them will go gung ho for it.
Yeah. And the last game of the weekend, big game as well, Iarmhi and Castletown-Geoghegan. Now, Castletown would have been disappointed in some ways. I'm sure disappointed with the result, and obviously don't like losing. Everyone knows the target's on their back. They're going for 3 in a row. They have been beset by injuries and lads going away, but Peter Clark back in the country, but has to sit out a game for suspension for last year. Iarmhi, not sure what way they are injury-wise, lads playing football at the weekend, but this has the makings of a cracking match now, this one on Sunday evening.
Yeah, it's an opportunity, I suppose, for Castletown to get back up on the horse. David Riley be home as well. But it's yet again, as Pat has said about Luke Loughlin.
Yeah.
David Riley hasn't hurled
in last game of hurling,
since last November, and it'll take him a game or two to get back in up to the pace. I'm sure his fitness would be unquestionable. He has worked on that, no doubt. But just that hurling touch, and he is gifted. He's definitely gifted as a touch, but it'll just take him a couple of games to get back into the stride and up to the pace of a game. So, but you'd imagine you'd see him for good periods of the game at the weekend.
Yeah, these two teams know that they have the advantage of playing after Loughlin Gales and Clonkill. Now, I think the last group game for Iarmhi is against Loughlin Gales, and so if the Gales get a win, if the Gales get a win on Saturday, they'll really consolidate their opportunity, but it may not be enough. Iarmhi will want the win then as well, because if they can overturn the Gales, they'll go straight to a final. Now, I'm not sure whether it's such a great advantage going straight to a final the way the fixtures are falling.
Also, if Clonkill overturned the Gales,
they have.
If Clonkill overturned the Gales and the Gales have still another tough match left, there'll be no guarantee of a semi-final either.
Yeah, I think Clonkill. Who their last game is against? Do we know now?
Not sure, but
is it Father? I think it is. Yeah, I think you're right. So, if they get the win, they'll be looking to picking up 2 more then, and they're right in contention for semi-final. So like we're saying, form should mean this, that, and the other, but no game ever won in a bookie shop or on a piece of paper either. So this game,
the weekend is just. It's hell for leather with nearly every team that's
They're interesting games now. The first round of games we were disappointed with the standard and all. Then the second round we had a great game with Castletown and Clonkill, and then the third round we had a great game with the Gales and Castletown. I expect nothing different this time with Iarmhi and Castletown. They bring the best out in each other. There'll be a puck of a ball. It can go either way. Castletown will. I know that David O'Reilly will be back. Whether he plays he'll play some part. I'd imagine he needs to get started and play hurling again. Now he's no hurling done, but he's still a threat, even if he was only to catch the ball or throw it around or whatever. But Peter Clark won't be there. I'm not sure about Maloney or that, but look, they still have enough firepower as a showed against the Gales to be a huge threat. Iarmhi are gunning to get back to the top of the table. You only have to look at their management and the sideline to know what they're at. But they probably were a little bit disappointed with the Father Dalton's game. They had it controlled from early on, but didn't really push it on. If you want it, that's nearly just all the way. But that's fine for them working out. For Johnny to work on. I would imagine it'll be very close. It could go either way. It could go either way.
Games.
So long as it's good hurling, because that's what, we as hurling people, we need 3 good games. We need 3 close games this weekend. That's what we need. Irrespective of who comes across the line. We need games that people say, God, that was enjoyable.
And even in the senior B, you need 3 close games.
We need it.
Football has taken the limelight over the last 2 weeks. With good games, with draws and exciting matches and stuff like that. And you know, outside of those couple of games that you mentioned, Pat, that hurling championship has been flat.
It hasn't,
Really
it hasn't.
lit up at all yet, like, you know. But I think cat among the pigeons now and get a Clonkill win, and you know, suddenly
a
championship
Clonkill
is
win
on.
changes the perspective on that championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what it does.
But look, they're all we'll know by, as the fella said, by 7 o'clock Sunday evening, we'll have a hell of a lot better idea how things are going. But just to go through those fixtures again, Saturday evening in TG Cusick Park in the Senior A, Loughlin Gales versus Clonkill. Sunday, TG Cusick Park, Delvin versus Father Dalton, that's at 3:30, and followed by Raharney and Castletowngagan at 5:15 also. Those three games been covered live on Iarmhi TV. The Senior B on Friday evening, Castlepotter versus Crookerwood out in Ringtown at 7 o'clock. On Saturday then, Oliver Plunkett's versus Brownstown, that's the curtain raiser to the Loughlin Gales game, and that's live on Iarmhi TV as well. Sunday then, 2 o'clock in Kinnegad, Ringtown versus St. Bridget's, and then Intermediate Championship, Saturday 22nd, Southern Gales versus Raharney, that's in Ballymore at 5:30. Castletowngagan versus Turin 5:30 in Killucan, and then Sunday, Clonkill versus Cullion, 2 o'clock in Robinstown. So plenty of hurling action there for people to go and visit. I'd be hoping to get to see some of those games, even get to some of the games. I'd like to get to Ringtown on Friday evening. Adrian might have the kettle boiling down there if we went down that far.
The coffee shop will be open Friday evening in Ringtown. And it's probably the cheapest you get in the county.
I mean,
country.
That means you have to bring money.
That's it.
And we have some up, so you know, card will do. We'll take cash or a card.
Cash and card, that's fine. Finish up on hurling. Just a quick word on the LGFA fixtures this weekend. This week coming Thursday night in Group A, St. Lomond versus Milltown, a big game in that one, and the Downs versus St. Joseph's. In that group, you have Milltown top of the table. Now they award 3 points for a win in this, so Milltown have 7. I think it's 2 wins and a draw, followed by St. Lomond. So there'll be a battle for who's going to top that table. Then the Downs with 4, and St. Joseph's and St. Mary's yet to get off the mark, but that's the table on Group A. And Group B then, Goldsmith versus Garrycastle and Mullingar Shamrocks versus Killucan. Goldsmith and Mullingar top of the table here, 2 wins and 6 points each. Killucan with 1 win and 1 loss, and Garrycastle and Kinnegad with a draw each. That competition is sponsored by the Village Bar, the senior LGFA competition sponsored by the Village Bar. Owen Clark and Company Solicitors, they sponsored the Intermediate Championship. Moat versus Loughlin Valley and Athlone versus Milltown Pass. Moat, Loughlin Valley and Collery all with 2 wins, 6 points each, and then Athlone and Milltown Pass yet to get off the mark. Quick shout out to Tom Brown as well there, looking after the Athlone girls. Big improvement on scoring, but didn't get any points for his day's work, but keep up the good work, Tom. You'll change it eventually. Clark's Bar, and they sponsored the Junior Championship. Group A, and Moat versus the Downs, and Clonagale versus Ballycamoyle, and Group B, Kilbeggan Shamrocks versus Turles Pass, St. Lomond versus Killoga. Those games on Friday night. I think it is 21st. Is that Friday night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kilbeggan races.
Right. You won't be going to an LGFA game, Pat.
Well,
so
I might actually. The Kilbeggan Turles Pass one, I have a kind of a half interest in it.
I thought you were coming to Ringtown.
Oh, that's right. Ringtown is Ringtown. I sure can't be coach.
Can't be
I
three
have to
places.
split everywhere. But anyway, I'm a hurling man. I'll be in Ringtown.
Yeah.
Anyway, lads.
It's the home of hurling, Pat.
Home of hurling.
Right. Free coffee.
I think it's bedtime again, lads. Again, shout out to our sponsors as always. Kieran Clark and Clark's Bar, he's just gone, so he missed the shout out. The Tire Warrior Garage down in the Pigeons, Jeanette Sheds in Kilbeggan, Michael Mannion CBRT in the Blair Industrial Estate in Athlone, Dr.ie and KCS Sports, and remember again launching our new range of gear hopefully next week as well. Remember to keep up to date on all things GA inside Westmeath. Follow the Lake County GA on Instagram. He has updates on highest scores and who has won and who has lost, points difference, everything, you name it. It's on that Instagram page. So give him a follow as well as give us a follow. Watch us on Spotify, watch us on the YouTube channel. We're on Facebook Live as well. Jerry Gavin was on the camera tonight. Tom Brown is always our producer. Thank you very much, lads. Look forward to a hurling weekend for a change. It seems like it's been a long time. So from Iarmhi Aboo podcast episode 11 is in the locker, and as always, Iarmhi Aboo.